welcome to another week of the Weeks in Tavern. This week, super excited. Riani is back. We had him on before. We've actually only had one guest ever on before, and it was Riani, and he's back. But one of the best guests ever, the best
And
guest
worse.
ever, some would say. But yeah, Riani, how you doing, dude?
I'm doing good, doing good. Good to be back. Episode was here for episode 3, and now we're here for episode, was it 7 or
12.
8?
This is 12, up to 12.
Holy. All right. Well, then it's been too long. Clearly.
Yeah, glad to have you back though, dude.
Glad to have you back.
For
Absolutely.
yeah, for anybody who for some reason doesn't know who Rihanna is, I don't know who wouldn't at this point, honestly, but makes amazing YouTube videos, great guides, lots of tank POV stuff. I think I saw some SoD Hunter stuff you were doing before too. Any
That's
plan any
yeah,
plans for
the
like
sod.
tank SoD stuff at all?
Oh, I don't know. I've been I was dabbling a little bit with the paladin on the side as well, doing a little bit of the shock in action. But man, I gotta tell you, the excitement for SoD is not there for me right now. But
I feel that.
we'll see with the with phase 4. But I kind of feel like because some effect got my start doing SoD content, and a lot of my early subscribers were people who were there for the
Mhm.
Hunter SoD content. So I feel like I'm letting them down a little bit. We'll see what happens in phase 4, but I'll make a little bit of a return.
Okay. Awesome.
We have a bunch of news on that today, so let's see if it
Yeah.
hypes us all up.
We'll see.
Yeah. A lot of stuff happening inside. But we'll start with you, Rihanna. What have you been up to? We haven't talked to you, in a while. Like the listeners have been hearing what we've been up to like each week. They know how Cata's kind of been going for us so far, but
Yeah.
like pre-patch and like Cata launch, what have you been up to for all of that?
Yeah. So pre-patch, it was incredibly sunny over here in Sweden, which is not very common in May. So I capitalized big time on that. But that doesn't mean I didn't go and get myself a little sin rock along the way as well. Got that after 75 troll souls, so pretty damn happy about that. And got myself a little shield as well for the warrior and paladin. And
Very nice.
honestly, that's as far as the pre-patch stuff goes. I did one raid with my guild. I think I got like world rank 2 in pre-patch parses.
Hell yeah.
The important stuff.
Love that.
It was pretty hilarious, topping the meters if you don't count the fire mages during the pre-patch.
Oh god, yeah, they
Um,
were on another level, dude.
yeah,
Like threat wasn't really supposed to be a mechanic, and then like a minute into a boss fight, like fire mage might rip off you. You look at the meter, and like they're 150k. Everybody else is just like it looks like they're not even like playing the game at all. It's like
yeah,
the whole bar is just fire mage. That was a wild time.
yeah. It was. But I think pre-patch stuff is really fun. It's kind of supposed to be broken. It feels bad when you're not the broken one, but uh, we'll get to play a little bit more of a balanced game in a few weeks. So let's just enjoy the ride while we're here.
Yeah,
I
I
remember.
love pre-patch. I think it's
Yeah.
just one of the most fun times. Everything's so wonky and weird, and
Mhm.
like it lasts just long enough that like it doesn't really overstay its welcome. Like it's just like crazy and fun for a bit, and then you get like the actual like balanced version.
Yeah,
It's,
and
it's
I
it's
mean,
like the
if
mop remix, right? Where it's just
yeah,
like slight
Yeah,
goofy stats and stuff like that.
and I feel like while we're playing a classic version of the game, everything is kind of solved, but the pre-patch is not. So that's when you get to really try out new stuff and have some fun. For all of it to be irrelevant in a few weeks, but hey.
yeah, and I mean it's a pre-patch that's never been seen before either because we have like the final patch tuning, so like 4.3 tuning and
Yeah.
pre-patch. So Like even if you were to, try to like go back and like see what everybody else was doing back in the day in pre-patch, it's like a completely different game, 4.0 versus like 4.3.
Don't
Doing
forget
pre-patch prep.
no elemental invasion. I know Subtle
Yeah.
was very upset about this.
It was just kind of a weird precedent that like we're skipping some content in like classic now, because
Mm.
like it had never been done before, right? Like so far throughout classic, like everything that happened back then we've gotten, and then suddenly it's like, okay, some things we're gonna skip. And I mean, at the end of the day, not the biggest deal in the world, but it just kind of makes you wonder like what might get skipped in the future too.
Yeah, I think at that time, Blizzard was just so hands off with Cataclysm that it was just like, nah, we don't really want to deal with that. Doing progressive
Yeah.
phases and having people whine about not being able to get to do the first part, and nah.
Yeah. So after pre-patch, yeah,
Yeah,
how's like the cattle launch, the early raids, all that stuff? How's that been going?
yeah, yeah. I had a blast on launch. I'll always do. It's such a good time. Brought out my computer out in the living room and just got ready to do an all-nighter because obviously it's the launch is at midnight for us, just right now when we're starting the podcast this
Yeah.
hour. So or no, 9 hours before this.
It's
Right,
midnight for us, but
midnight for you guys. So
morning for
you know
you.
how it feels. You know
Yeah,
how it
yeah.
feels. And got pretty good start to the expansion. I wasn't planning on doing like any type of Halls of Lightning or anything like that, which is another topic I want to get into a little bit later. But I didn't do any of that. I had a really good pre-questing route. I spent a lot of time kind of developing a route that would get me to Hyjal really, really fast while still getting a really good head start. So I did my pre-questing route, which for some reason the launch was kind of 15 minutes early.
Yeah,
That I
that
think a lot
would
of people didn't realize.
that threw a lot of people off. I know a lot of people were like trying to
Yep.
get like realm first of, some of the
Yeah.
professions and stuff. And they
Yeah.
were like, taking a bathroom break like before the launch,
Yeah.
like getting ready for it. And then it just dropped and they missed it. So that
Yeah.
was kind of a bummer.
Bit of a bummer, but the at least there's the 1 minute grace period or whatever. So a lot of people. I mean, I had like 5 people in my guild get realm first, like cooking and
Yeah.
archaeology and stuff like that. But yeah, so I got about 60% of a level in 2.5 minutes,
Pretty
and
good.
then I hearthstone to Everlook and just flew over the wall straight into Hyjal and skipped the first initial questing area. And from that, I was just ahead of the pack for the entire time. No competition whatsoever. And I was on Discord with my guildies, and they were talking about, oh man, there's so much competition. I can't get anything done. Meanwhile, I'm always almost 82, while they haven't reached 81 yet. So that was a good time. And I had this, build that I cooked up that I called the Frost Grip build. That oh man, it was so fun running around with 2 Oracle trinkets, gripping and frost striking everything. And I ended up getting as much, if not more, XP per hour than I would have gotten in Halls of Lightning. So that was really fun. But the problem was that once you hit level 82, I wanted to go to Deep Home, and I was getting to Deep Home around the same time as a lot of the people that did Halls of Lightning spam, and so that towards the end at least turned into a bit of a shit show with
Hmm.
the servers and lags and all of that.
Yeah,
Um,
was the lag kind of weird for you where it was like only for debuffs? Because that's what we were seeing on Fairlena, where it was like
mm,
you would press like outbreak and your diseases wouldn't actually apply to the mob for like 10 seconds, but everything else was
yeah,
like not laggy. It was just a weird lag that I hadn't really seen before.
yeah, that was how it was in the beginning. So when the zone wasn't completely full, but as I started getting towards the latter half of the Therastein quest line, it really started to be more of a just general server lag. It's things, taking a bit of time to just get your spells off. So I'm like, all right, I hit level 83, I'm out of here. I'm gonna go to Oldham, and there was all, it was perfect there, smooth sailing.
Yeah, we kind of saw the same thing.
Yeah.
It like towards the end of our time in Deep Home, it was starting to get unplayable, and then we got out of there finally, and it was good the rest of the way.
Yeah,
But I was
and
hearing horror stories from the people that like were
yeah,
further behind us. Like,
mhm,
there was that one quest on like the ship with like the ogre, and you have to like get him low to like interrogate him or whatever. And
yep,
like nobody could get credit for that because he was just dying too quickly. And yeah, that was a huge bottleneck. I knew people that were stuck
yep,
on that quest for like 30 minutes before they gave up.
yep, yeah. No, that's definitely a bummer, but thankfully they changed the um, Stone Father's Boon quest,
Oh
because
god.
man, that would have been another bottleneck for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember playing that on the beta. I'm like, oh god, this is gonna be awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. People
Did,
have been
did,
telling me like, oh, you don't need to, no need to rush. You're gonna, you're gonna need to get your reputations, and why are you spending all this time like trying to get ahead? It doesn't matter. Oh no, wait until we get to
they
Deep Hope.
learned.
It'll
Yeah,
matter.
they found out. Yeah.
Yeah.
What server are you on also? Um,
I am on Gehenna's, so the biggest
okay,
EU
yeah.
server.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, okay. So
yeah,
I think I
so it
saw
definitely
the
matters.
population recently was back up to maybe 40K, 35, 40K, something like that. So
Rating
yeah,
population. Yeah.
yeah, it's it's back. It's back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And yeah, so after that, I just kind of hit, went all the way, questing all the way to 85. Did the only character that I did the arena on because it was totally empty. But man, I tried to go back there on my alts, and
It was a
oh no,
mess.
that was just a shit show with bugs being quests being bugged, and taking forever, and then just standing around and no one getting credit. I'm like, okay, I'm out of here. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, got 85, and luckily, since I had all of the reputations sorted, I had a Sinrock in the bag. I was able to just queue up rogues right away. I had another guildie that I started queuing with, and got geared really quickly. Man, I was feeling previous in like a day or two, and I'm like, okay, time to start leveling alts, I guess.
What was the first all you did? Mine was just a second blood DK and then a third blood DK.
Yeah, so you know what? I had a very weird second alt. Because in the pre-patch, I've been leveling up a warrior that
Okay.
I didn't get done. And so when I hit level 85 and I was feeling done with the DK, I went on my level 75 warrior and started doing the last 5 levels and then heading into the cataclysm content. Just because I've been having a lot of fun with the warrior. And yeah, so that was my second alt. I got the druid up as well pretty quickly after, and now I'm doing some halls of lightning with my paladin while waiting for rested experience, and no rush with that one. But log in every once in a while, knock out like 7 million experience per hour with heirlooms and rested, and wait for that one to fill up again.
Yeah, that's I wish I had like been on top of that because I leveled my pally recently and like yeah, I just cruised through like all that rest XP in like 30 minutes and I was like, why didn't I just do this before? I should just logged in and I could have had
Yep.
even more. But
Yep. It is what
yeah.
it is.
Yep. Yeah, so currently for me, I'm sitting on like 3 blood DKs, one prop ally, one prot warrior. Just got the prot warrior up. Um uh, it sounds like you got all the tanks except prop ally right now.
Hmm.
Do you have
Yeah.
any multiples at all of anything?
I don't. I don't.
Okay.
I have two. limited time to
For
do
sure.
multiples.
Yeah, it's very degen and so silly to have
You
three
said
three
it.
blood
You said it.
DKs. But yeah, I don't know. It to me is just one of those classes. Like it's so fun in this like specific expansion. Like you just want to have multiple of them. Like in Wrath,
Mm,
I just had a million prop values because they're
yeah.
just fun as hell. And like you only get to play Wrath for so long. Prop value is one of the funnest in Wrath, one of the
Mm,
funnest classes in all of WoW, I think.
yeah.
So just when you have that moment in time, like I just wanted to, capitalize on it kind of.
Yeah.
Seize the moment.
Seize
Indeed.
the moment. Make 5 prop alleys.
That's right.
Indeed. I was rambling so much about my launch experience that I didn't even get to the raid stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, raid stuff.
I'm in a bit of a, I'm not gonna say dad guild, but kind of a dad guild. Like, we're not really pushing for insane speed clears or anything like that. So we actually only went, I don't think I think we went 12 out of 13 the first week. So we didn't get all the way. Um so I'm missing out on at least one potential upgrade that I could have gotten if I
Ooh.
wasn't a more sweaty guild. Um, but
Which one did you guys miss? Was it Neff week 1 or?
Nefarian,
Okay.
yeah. And but now we're clearing 13 out of 13 in 1 to 2 days. And now it's time to start pumping the meters a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's after progression, that's what's fun.
For sure.
And starting to do a little bit of raiding on the alt as well. Some 10-man heroic raiding on both the druid and the warrior. Try to play with my warrior whenever possible,
Mhm.
because man, I'm not having a good time on the druid right now.
Yeah, yeah. What is
Yeah,
it you aren't liking on the druid?
it just feels so like it doesn't have a big impact.
Hmm.
Like you're a meat shield, and you're pretty good at mitigating damage. Not like a bloody K, right? But you can definitely mitigate some good damage. Um, but then it doesn't really matter what buttons you press. To some extent, you can squeeze out a little bit more damage by playing optimally, but it doesn't really matter like what abilities you press for your survivability. You have a 1-minute interrupt. You don't really have any type of um, raid tools except for a stampeding roar. I don't know. It just feels like I'm just there when I'm playing the druid, and the only time where it's fun is when you can cat weave a little bit, uh, and give value to the raid by doing more output. Um, just I don't know. It's just something that's off with it for me.
Yeah, that's interesting. That Pharaoh's the only one I haven't played it for tanks. That's the
Mm,
next one I'm gonna be doing. But like I've been hearing pretty good things about them, I feel like, but like man, I've been playing like, Prop Alley, Prop Warrior a little bit, and they well DKs are just on another level. Like you don't really like you kind of know like it's on a different level, but when you actually play them like in a raid and you see it like firsthand, it's like, damn, this is you're just playing a different game on Blood DK. And
yeah,
like one of the biggest things to me is just like with Blood DK, you have so much survivability. Like you can invest in like hit cap and expertise soft cap, no problem. Like
yeah.
hit cap even like helps your survivability.
Mm.
Um,
Expertise cap to some extent too, with more ring power
yeah,
regeneration, less
yeah,
miss
sure.
robles, and yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And then on like prop out and pro where it's like you really want to do everything you can to, get more combat table coverage, whatever you can do, just to live. And Man, sometimes I'll press rend like 3 times trying to get it up. It's just parry, miss. Okay, finally I got my rend up. Now I can thunderclap spread it to everything. It's like once
That
these
feels really bad. It
it
feels
feels
really bad.
so bad. And like once these tanks can give full combat table coverage and get hit cap and expertise soft cap. Everybody talks about the combat table coverage. You can get that by the end of the phase, but like when you can get the expertise soft cap, the hit cap, and the full combat table coverage, I think that's when it's finally gonna start feeling pretty solid. But
Yeah.
until then, man, it feels kind of rough. But Proware so far, like you're liking it,
Mhm.
you said.
I'm
Like
having a
how
really good time on the prop warrior. Yeah.
yeah. How
Yeah.
many like heroics have you done on it?
Um,
Raids.
I'm currently this is my um second week doing heroics on it, and um I actually haven't done anything but halfas in Bastion of Twilight because I've been
Okay.
pugging on my on
Sure.
my prop warrior. And so I accidentally got myself saved this week in Bastion of Twilight, where I didn't think that I would be raiding with the guild on my warrior.
Okay.
Um, so that's hence why I had to play the druid in there.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I got like the 5 out of 6 on in Blackwing Descent, 2 out of 2 in Throne of the Four Winds, and currently doing some kiting on the ads on Nefarian, and man, that feels so easy on the prop warrior. I it feels bad when the hard part in phase 3 is for us is not the ads. But
Yeah. What's the hard
we'll get
part
there.
right now?
Um, yeah, main tank damage.
Oh.
Yeah,
Is it a bloody game main tank?
yeah. It's an alt, and he's new
Okay.
to Blood DK, so
Okay.
we
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair
got some
enough.
learning to do there.
Yeah, no worries. Very diplomatic way to say it.
We're improving.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, as long as they kind of know what mistakes they're making, like can identify
Hmm.
those and improve on them.
Hmm.
That's what matters.
We're having dialogues.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's got the perfect resource right there. Like, I mean, he can just talk to you and kind of
Trying to tell
figure
him
it
to
out.
watch the guide, but man.
Yeah. Dude, that's the hardest part. I feel like people that know you, they like won't watch the videos. They just want to like
Mhm.
ask you directly. And it's like,
Yeah.
man, I like put together this video. It just says everything that you're asking me right now. Like, just watch the video.
This took me 80 hours to put together. God damn it. Show some respect.
Yeah.
So it sounds like maybe one of you has the heroic crossfire carbine, and the other one doesn't. I think that's what's happening here.
Oh yeah.
Because remember that puts your warrior on a different level. Subtle.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Mm,
So I'm are you familiar with the
mm,
Crossfire carbine,
yeah.
the 372
Yeah.
version that shouldn't be dropping.
Mm. With
Yeah.
dodge.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just made a joke the other week that like that's Blizzard's fix for Prot Warrior to like bring them up to Blood DK level is that they just added, a little bit higher eye level gun.
Hmm.
But it sounds like you might have that. That's why you're doing so well on the Prot Warrior is you have this next level gun.
I'm actually CTC capped with it, so
Oh,
yeah.
easy.
There it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Anything else for just what you've been doing for since launch? Otherwise, we'll move on to Hando.
well, I have been doing one really fun thing, and this may or may not get you a little bit jealous, depending on.
Okay.
But I'm thinking, this is the right age group. But I went to see Metallica and Five Finger Death Punch
Oh,
on
nice,
Sunday.
nice.
So
That's
Nice.
that
yeah,
was
nice.
that was really good.
My
Out of
wife and I
game,
actually saw
unfortunately.
them with Avenged Sevenfold about 3 years ago.
Mm, that's another
So
good one.
they
Another good
are
one.
amazing live.
Yeah. Oh yeah. big time. Especially here down
Definitely
here
recommend.
in Copenhagen as well, which is where Lars is from, the drummer.
Okay,
There you go.
nice.
Yeah.
Probably playing extra hard for the home crowd.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, awesome. I mean, man, it's been packed. Like this month has flown by. I can't believe Cata came out a month ago. Like I was looking at that
Mm.
today. I'm like it feels like we just fast forwarded through everything. Ando, what have you been up to this week? We know what you've been up to the last month or two, but how about this week?
Mhm.
I leveled another alt. I got my warrior up. I have not gotten a blood DK up yet, and I think
Why
I'm kind
not?
of happy about it.
What? Come on.
Because
Okay, come on.
if I
You're
was to
happy about it.
level, yeah, hold on, I'll explain. If I was to level it, I don't think I would enjoy the warrior nearly as much as I am currently.
Okay.
Like, if you put on the the tinted glasses, right,
Mm-hmm.
and you just believe they don't exist, then this is better. This is better this way.
Yeah, you don't
That's
know
my
what it could be yet.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
you just okay. I get it. All right,
Yeah,
that's
so I've
pretty
been
smart actually. I like that.
yeah, I've been working on that and stuff, and I feel pretty powerful doing that. The leveling experience was amazing. That character didn't have a lot of gear going into the expansion, so I'm in the same boat as Riani in that regard, where he leveled his warrior up to 75, and then started working on it in Cataclysm. But I did, however, abuse the auction house with the greens from level 2, like the
Nice.
277s or whatever that you get, from 77 onward, and the
Mhm.
blues. Holy smokes, I felt so OP, like, because I had better than ICC gear at, like, and it could have been 79, and I was just cruising through these dungeons. It felt like I didn't even need a tank. And I was just queuing for the dungeons because I was having a blast. Like, I didn't even want to do the quests because it was just so much fun. Like pressing Blade Storm and stuff like that, and just trying to see people keep up with me because it was just nutty. Like, you had, like, I don't know, a 58% crit or something like that, and then an absurd amount of mastery,
Decent.
which I think my mastery was actually my top source of damage. I had so much of it, so
Oh
it was
jeez.
pretty insane. So
Did
that's
you
mostly what
use
I've been doing, and I did some raids, and we got our second raid going with our guild, and that was a lot of fun. So
did you try out the like archaeology 226 eye level one hander at all that you can use at
no, because I was
71?
above that, so
Okay.
I was already 8. My character was already 80, unlike his.
Oh, it was already
It
80.
just wasn't
Gotcha,
really
gotcha.
geared out. That's all.
Got it. Okay.
He was still
Yeah.
wearing, like, Nax stuff and, like, shield and stuff. Maybe had, like, a few old war pieces sprinkled in.
Yeah, for anybody who hasn't tried that eye level 226 one hander, that thing is so damn fun. I used it on a Prot Warrior doing Botanica like 71 to 79. I was just like insta killing every pack. I was like pulling that place like I've never pulled it before, just like so many mobs at a time. And then like Prot Warrior, every time you kill something, you get to heal for like 37% of your life if you have like the glyph for victory rush and the healing talent and everything. So uh, I recommend it for everybody. If you're gonna level a warrior, make sure you get that archaeology weapon first. It just makes the leveling so fun. Just you'll never feel more OP than you do with a 226 eye level weapon at level 71.
Yeah, I love those little feelings of, like, huge power spikes. Just randomly, right? Like, they don't even, like, level 71 doesn't even really make sense at all. Same with, like, level 77. You're
Yeah.
like, I'm not supposed to
Mm.
be this strong. Your stats are supposed to be going down.
I used
But as soon
to
as you hit 84 with all that gear, it just feels like a drag. You're like, oh man. You're like, where did my stats go? And then you start doing the heroics and you start gearing up it again, and you're like, oh, this is much better, much better.
I have some strong associations with those axes because to show you how casual I was at some points in my WoW journey, I was doing level 70 twinking in Cataclysm, original Cataclysm, and that's when you could still queue arena at lower levels,
I
rated
forgot
arena.
about that. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and once you got up in ratings, it would just be infested with level 71 DKs Frost DKs that had both of those weapons, and they would just like, death grip obliterate, done.
I'm trying to remember. Could you get titles from those?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I was kind of remembering that was a cheesy thing you could do.
Could you get
Rank
arena?
1 titles
No,
even?
you couldn't get like the gladiator and whatnot, but you
Okay.
could get like arena master and stuff like that.
Okay. Flawless Victor, maybe too.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
OG
Hot
title.
streak.
Did
Hotter
they
streak.
bring that
Hotter
back?
streak.
Was Flawless
No.
Victor in Classic? It wasn't? Okay.
No, I don't
Yeah,
think
I
so.
couldn't remember. I had that on my rogue back in the day. It always felt so cool. Like that was such a dope
Mhm.
title to get. But it was kind of RNG, and it was always what was it? Was it win 10 in a row, I think? Or was it more than that?
Hot streak is 10 in a row, and then hotter streak is winning 10 in a row over 1800 rating.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there was even one more than that, like hottest streak, maybe something like that. I think.
I don't think there's anything higher.
Oh, there wasn't. Okay. Yeah.
So.
It was a cool
Maybe
title
we
back
just
in the
didn't
day, though.
obtain it. Maybe that's what it is.
Mm.
It was a feat of strength. We didn't know
be.
it. We don't know it exists. We just gotta find it through the data mining. But that's been me. That's been me.
That's you. All right.
That's me. So how about yourself?
Yeah. So I've been doing a lot of raids lately. With all these characters I've got up, I basically have a raid every day now. So I'm playing like Bloody K 3 days a week. I'm playing Prop Eye 1 day a week. I'm playing Prot Warrior now. This is the first week I got it leveled up, but playing Prot Warrior 1 day a week now too. Hopefully some of these raids get down, some of the other raids get down to 1 day a week. So we, get a little more time, but it's been a blast though. Like I'm having so much fun on the Bloody Ks. Like it reminds me completely of Prop Eye and Wrath, just like how much fun it is. Like how, the power level and everything is such a good time. Recommend it for everybody. But other than that, been doing lots of solos lately. Soloed most in Nax, 13 out of 15 in Nax. Let's see, 10 out of 14 in Ulduar. I just right before this podcast, I soloed all of Trial of the Champion, Champion Crusader. The whatever the normal, the 10-man normal raid is. Yeah. So that was pretty fun. Like Faction Champions was a little interesting to deal with, but pretty cool. Starting on ICC now. Did Marigar and Death Whisper. We're gonna work our way through there too, though. See what all we can do. But by the end of the expansion, I think we'll be able to do just about anything with like Dragon Soul gear and everything. But we'll see what happens. All right, let's move in then to the listener questions. So first one we got from Bowraker or Foraker. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Sorry if I mispronounced that, but how spicy is tanking both Neff and Ani at the same time in phase 1? Do you have a set CD rotation? Is this something you've tried at all, Riani?
This is what we do in the 10-man that I'm on with the warrior, but it doesn't really seem like it's a lot of damage for sure, but it doesn't seem that scary because you can front load pretty much all of your external cooldowns and your personal cooldowns during that phase because you have the pillar phase afterwards anyhow, so it's all going to be recharging for phase 3. I think just right away as Neff lands and you get the empowerment buff, just IBF, have pain suppression right after it, and still pay attention to the other cooldowns during that phase as well, even if you have externals running while you're tanking it. Always having save your second round of bone shield, so you have that when Neff lands. Use vampiric blood still, and make sure to properly time your AMS for Nefarian's breath during that phase. Yeah. I think it's very manageable for sure.
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty well. Yeah, I wouldn't really call it spicy because, like, I mean, it's a lot of damage, but like you have so many cooldowns, and like you're probably only tanking Neff and Ani together for maybe 30 seconds, depending on,
At most. Yeah.
yeah, depending on the DPS of your group. So it's such a short time that like you have so many ways to deal with everything. So yeah, I wouldn't really call it spicy. Just press your buttons and you'll live pretty much. One thing I found that was helpful was not using pestilence to like spread my diseases when like Neff landed,
Mm.
because it was spreading them to the ads, and then in phase 3 the ads would all come to me because I had these dots that like built threat while they were dead. So
Mm.
that just caused a lot of issues like for our feral druid. So I
Yeah.
actually went to just applying with icy touch and plague strike. So I icy touch plague striked like Ani, and then outbreak Neff. That seemed to fix all the like phase 3 issues we were having with ads just going right for me. So if anybody's having
Okay.
issues with that, I recommend don't do the pests there. Uh,
Now,
yeah.
the listener did say how spicy was it? If you were, you said it wasn't spicy. If you were to put that on a Scoville scale, like the heat scale, what kind of pepper do you think it would be?
I personally,
Uh,
I'm thinking like a habanero. Like it's definitely uncomfortable, but manageable. I would gladly have it in some of my food. I like that kind of
There you
spice.
go.
But it's
yeah.
definitely not. We're not talking ghost pepper. We're not talking um, Carolina Reaper. Nothing like that. No.
Yeah, I think
Perfect, perfect.
habanero is a good comp for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely habanero level, I would say. Like,
Spicier than a jalapeno, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's something, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal.
Uh,
Yeah,
Uh,
like a Commanderin said
if
as
you're on your
well.
feral druid, it's for sure the Carolina Reaper though.
yeah, maybe.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Next one we got from Delian. What are some good coping methods for living as a prop paladin in Cataclysm? I guess
Mm.
I think I'm the only one that has a prop eye leveled, but I mean, the main thing is just, having a 60 upgrades profile for prop eye that has all the 372 gear. So you can look at that and just kind of dream of what will be in the future.
Mm.
Maybe you print that off, tape it to like your bathroom mirror, so every morning when you wake up, you see what the full base prop eye is going to look like. You can imagine that full combat table coverage. You see getting a block on every single attack, your holy shield actually doing something every time you press it, those kinds of things. Because man, it feels bad when you press holy shield and you just take like 3 normal attacks in a row. Like it's awful. Like those all should be basically like shield walled attacks, and it's like, oh, I just got hit for like my entire health pool instead of like half of it. So
I think
yeah.
Brianni and I have a different coping method. We just don't play them.
Yeah, that, I mean, that works too. Yeah, you just don't even level
You
it.
can't die if you don't play it, right?
True. That's so
That's
true.
true. I haven't died to any of the heroic bosses on my paladin
That's
this
right.
expansion.
Riani the
Funny
Immortal.
story. I think
Yeah.
wasn't it one of your characters that was like that too? Your obstructed health bar paladin had never died to Algalon because we one shot him.
True. Yeah. Riani probably doesn't know about this, but at one point I leveled this pally from 1 to 80. And basically every time somebody like subscribed or like donated on Twitch, whatever, they could increase the pixel size of my health bar. So they could make it bigger vertically or horizontally. So it started off as a normal health bar size, and the only way I could, return it to normal size was to kill Algalon, but as a tank. Like I couldn't
Mm.
just like let somebody else tank it. I had to like be a solid tank for the fight that actually like did stuff the entire fight. And so basically, by the time I got to level 80 and we got to Algalon, the health bar covered my entire screen. And somehow we got he feeds on your tears. Like nobody died. And so it was
Wow.
it was crazy. It was
I mean,
it was fun though.
if that was your best kill of Algalon, doesn't that say anything about how you should be optimizing your UI?
Health bar.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's time to make a return. Clearly, it was
Yeah.
working.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about doing that on like a blood DK soon, something like that. Maybe I do it with the runes or something. Like the runes just get bigger every time, or I'm not sure exactly what I'm gonna do, but I'm thinking about bringing that back soon. So if
Yeah.
any listeners have like any ideas on what I can do for some kind of challenge like that, let me know.
I think someone brought something up and you said that sounded like a good idea. I just can't remember exactly what it was.
I remember saying that too, and I also can't remember what it was.
Oh,
So
someone needs to remember. Come on.
yeah, somebody has to, yeah, hopefully.
Someone
But
out there knows. I'm just gonna go through the hours of VODs and we'll figure it out.
thank you. Yeah. I mean, I'm
Be the
sure at
VOD
this
guy.
point AI could do it for us, right?
Oh
We can
yeah,
do-
true.
We can get them to figure it out.
We could go into a whole rabbit hole with AI stuff that's happening now. So I think we'll keep it news related. What's your real coping method here for living as a prop paladin? If you had to guess here, Riani.
Oh man, I mean, just smoke something strong.
There you go.
But I mean, I feel like as long as you're not trying to be a main tank for your progression roster, and somehow, you know, really coping to your raid leader, like, you know what, Paladin is actually stronger as a main tank than a Blood DK. I can make it work. Then if you don't do that, then you're fine. It's like a prop paladin was brought as an off tank for a lot of the top 20 at least clears of all the heroic bosses, and they have decent utility. The what's it called, the divine
Guardian.
I think it's called now.
Oh.
Yeah, is is huge, especially on like crackles for Nefarian, and then the downside would be that you had to tank the ads, but you can definitely do that as a prop paladin. So I mean, yeah, they're fine. They're fine. You don't need to cope as long as you're not trying to be something that you're not.
Yeah, they're fine. Don't cope. They're fine. They're totally everything's fine.
Yeah, our guild was one of those that brought the prop value as the off tank for like the day one clear, and like it worked fine. Ultimately, we did kind of decide that we probably should have brought a different tank, but it worked. We got it done. But yeah, like just play to your strengths, like play your role as the prop value. You're the off tank. You're not the main tank. You just like it's that simple. Let the blood DK main tank. You fit your role as the prop value off tank. Probably have a red off spec for any like true solo tank fight, but just play your role. That's how you cope with it. Like fit in where you fit in the raid. Maybe later down the line, like I don't really see it, but maybe you could be more of a main tank in the future. But I think it's kind of just gonna be blood DK the whole way.
Yeah.
That's it for the listener questions. I think you maybe had some questions for us, Riani.
I have a question, and I want I want you in chat to chime in as well, and perhaps YouTube comments as well once this goes up there. In previous expansions, this wasn't necessarily the case that much, but in Cataclysm, does tank damage matter? You can start with this one, Subtle, and I'll chime in a little bit later.
Does tank damage matter? Tank damage done, I assume you mean, not tank damage taken. Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, so like This is always kind of a weird thing where people are like, "Oh, tank parsing is a meme," but it's like
Mm.
damage is damage. Like if your tank can do 2,000 more DPS, that's 2,000 more raid DPS. The thing you gotta look at is how they're getting that 2,000 DPS. It's like, are they making some huge sacrifices to their defensive capabilities that make them far more likely to die? Then that 2,000 DPS isn't really worth it. If they're making a negligible impact on their survivability and still gaining that 2,000 DPS, that's where it's really important. That's like,
Mm.
that's just free damage to your raid. It's like the biggest example of this for me was actually an Old War 10-man heroic XT day one. So this was a
Oh.
fight a lot of people struggled with. You may remember like XT was a bit overtuned, like right
Yeah.
when he launched, and they nerfed him, I think, a couple weeks later. But a lot of guilds were running into his berserk timer and wiping because of that. I looked at a lot of these guilds. Their prop values were literally doing half my DPS. They were doing 3,000 less DPS. If their prop values had like been optimizing their damage and like knew how to do more damage, they would have killed the boss. So like
Yep.
that's like probably the most extreme example. But the tank damage can be the difference between killing a boss and not killing a boss.
Yep.
But if you're interested in like optimizing your gameplay and min-maxing, tank damage absolutely matters. It just is how you get there. Just
Mhm.
don't do it at like the detriment of your raid. Like if you're increasing your chance of dying by like 100% or like 90%, like that's obviously not worth it. If you're increasing your chances of dying by 0.5%, that's probably worth it. Like 2,000 more DPS, whatever, tiny increased chance of death. Yeah, that's a great trade, I think.
Mhm.
I can definitely
I
see some more like cases of that, especially in guilds that were not as top tier as some of the other ones, like Algalon, Hodir, like the hard mode, like the first week, and then 10-man Sarth. There was even a little bit of a push in the first phase for a lot of
Mm.
groups where that tank damage definitely mattered, and just playing your character correctly, mattered a lot too. Or optimizing someone to like drag the Drake away or whatever, when people were doing that. So little things like that definitely mattered, I think, for sure.
Yeah. So my thought on this is that in ICC or Wrath of the Lich King, I don't think it mattered as much. While I think for like a prop paladin, maybe you know obviously playing like optimally and all stuff like that you should do regardless of how your gear is. But being able to squeeze out some extra DPS while sacrificing some survivability was generally could be worth it for sure. But if you were like a blood DK, for example, you could definitely squeeze out more damage by going a heart strike build, or I mean, yeah, a heart strike build, hmm and do like a lot more DPS. But it also meant you were a lot more susceptible to incoming damage, and you know, with that incoming damage taken, you probably couldn't go down one healer in order to bring one extra DPS, and bringing one extra DPS is obviously going to be a lot more beneficial to the raid than you having more damage. But in Cataclysm, we don't really need healers as Blood DK. The check isn't for bringing one extra DPS as opposed to one extra healer. It's not tank damage. It's raid damage, right? And so I think the biggest priority is surviving. Is number one,
Of course.
but
Yep.
the number two priority is no longer reducing the damage you take. I think the number two priority is maximizing damage output, um, while meeting the bare requirements of surviving. Because man, the difference of some tanks, the damage in between some tanks is so huge. Like I was just looking quickly at the logs, and I was looking at, okay, how much damage am I doing in heroic rating compared to the 50th percentile? So the middle of the road body case that are still rating heroic rating. So obviously not, it's still heroic rating, so it's not, the absolute worst people, and it's the middle of the pack. And for most bosses, the difference is between 6 and 9k DPS. And I'm just thinking, man, if our hunters had a difference between them of 6 to 9k, we would be dragging them to the officer channel and having a little bit of a talk about what are they doing wrong. But for tanks, no one really cares. But
That's so
I think
funny.
people should.
I've never thought of it like that before, but yeah, that's so good. Yeah,
Yeah.
tanks get away with so much, man. They could do like no damage and nobody bats an eye.
Yeah. Indeed.
It's like
Indeed.
there's just fundamental problems with like their entire rotation and like the way they're approaching, their class, and like everybody's like, oh well, they didn't die, so it's all
Yeah.
good.
I
This
think
was
there's
the
other
case.
things that come with that too, though, right? Like it's not just that with tanks. Like there's levels, right, where with DPS almost feels like, for the most part, they just DPS. Like they have to come and pump, right? Like a tank, is doing a lot of things, and for a lot of guilds, they're like raid leading or whatever, right? I mean, I know we talked about it in a different cast where they, you believe that they shouldn't, but I know that there's a lot of them out there that just fall into that role because they have been since Classic and stuff, and the launch of Classic. But so I think they do a little bit more than that. But a hunter is probably a bad example for this because I feel like hunters take on quite a few roles.
Yeah.
Like those poor, like those raid jobs that no one else wants to do. They're usually the ones out there like soaking stuff in range or whatever. So maybe they're not the best example, but I think they can probably get away with a little bit more than the average DPS because of some of the stuff that they do extra.
Yeah, Hunter was just it's just
Yeah,
something
yeah.
I pull out of my behind, but yeah, you get the point. And yeah, it's actually funny that you mentioned that tanks cannot get away with anything, because we had a scenario like that in our guild, and I'm really sorry if the person that's this that was the victim of this, or well, I guess we were the victim, but the perpetrator, is gonna be watching. But we were doing all of ICC with the tank that didn't press blood strike and or hearts death strike, sorry, death strike, that didn't press death strike.
What? Wait, what? Hold on. Wait. Okay, a blood DK that didn't press Death Strike. Oh,
Yep.
okay. All
And
right.
it wasn't until Hallion that I was like looking at the healing done. I'm like, wait a minute, where's Death Strike?
Yeah, is this
Where-
bugged? Like what?
Yeah. So I think maybe having at least having a raid leader that's at least somewhat well versed in tanking is probably a good idea for the log review to see where things are going wrong. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, now it's pretty easy because like blood DK should be pretty high on the healing meter. So like if you don't see the blood DK on the healing meter, yeah, that's kind of a dead giveaway. I mean, there's some fights you may be number one on healing, like kind of just depending on the fight, but yeah, like at least usually you're probably in the mix. You might be in the middle of all the healers. I mean, some fights you just you're getting only the minimum death strikes the whole time, and HPS is pretty low. But on fights where you're taking some damage, getting that HPS up, maybe like 12k plus, and it's yeah, Bloody K is just It's so fun. It's so broken, but it's so fun. Just being high on the damage, being high on the healing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
you
kind
just
of
gotta hit
struggling
that strike.
to think of a fight where there is really high tank damage intake. Because
I
I
like
feel like
Neff.
maybe
That's kind of the main one. Like obviously it's very bursty, but
I feel
like
like
with
Neff just
Crackle and
pickles you.
everything. Really?
Yeah, like as long as you have something for crackles,
Yeah.
it's
I
like
mean
the dragon
I
itself.
personally don't find it to be like a big deal, but like that is like
Yeah.
the fight you're gonna probably have the highest HPS on just because of the incoming damage, like amplifying your DS. At least for me, I think
Mhm.
that's my highest, maybe 13k HPS, something like that.
I actually have the rank 1 healing parse for Nefarian,
Oh, dude, nice.
yeah.
Wow.
I think that one doesn't count for all stars. Am I right?
No, it doesn't, but
That's a bummer, man.
healing all-star parses, let's go.
Yeah, at least a couple days ago, I think I was still rank 1 overall for healing parse.
Oh,
But
nice.
yeah, if
I
Neff was counting, you'd probably have me on that.
I have rank 1 Omnitron and rank 1
Oh no. And Neff,
Nefarian.
you have the two that don't count.
The
Yeah,
two that don't count.
that's why I got you, dude.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
all yours
She
aren't
goes
counting. Like that's 240 points right there that don't even count.
she goes to a different school.
Clearly.
It's
Man,
just imaginary parses, that's all it is.
free Riani.
Yeah.
Hashtag free Riani. Release the
That's right.
parses.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, how do we get on that tangent? Something about healing. Oh yeah, you're saying you don't think there's fights where like there is a lot of tank damage?
Yeah. Like I
Um,
could feel Sinestra
yeah,
phase 3, sure. But
yeah,
then you have the haste buff and it doesn't really matter anyway.
yeah. Oh my god, that is the most fun fight. I love that fight. Just spamming the runes, just doing
Yeah.
everything. It's the best.
Little trick, make sure for you as a death knight out there to have a blood rune off cooldown at all times pretty much, so that you get all of those runic empowerment procs going into death runes.
Nice. Yeah.
Nice
Good
Yeah.
shit.
tip. Nice tip.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so just like relative to the other bosses, though, like Neff is like a higher damage boss, I would say. But obviously, as a Blood Decay, you have all the tools in the world to deal with everything. Like it's not a big deal. He does more
Yeah.
damage than other things, but you shouldn't be dying to it. Like apparently, Riyadh is maybe got somebody he's working with in his guild that's having some issues, but uh, but in
May or
general,
may not.
you have the tools. Whether or not you use them is up to you. But
That's a whole
yeah,
nother thing.
I mean, Blood Decay, yeah, you just have so many tools to deal with like every situation. It's like even if something does do a bit more damage, like you got something for it. You got AMS on a 45-second cooldown. If you're
Mhm.
using the mirror broken images, you got that on a minute cooldown. It's like I think what
I
20
just stopped using
25%.
that altogether pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've not been using that nearly as much. I think like Neff is like the only fight I like used it on last week. Maybe Conclave, because just the way my guild does it, I end up getting, like 7 to 9 stacks of wind chill by the end of the fight. So just as
Oh,
like
okay.
another cooldown. Basically I start on Anshal, then I go over to Nazir and I never leave there for the rest of the fight. So sometimes
You
when
you can AMS off the stacks, right?
yeah. So there's like 2 wind chill casts, like per duration of the debuff. So
Yeah.
it's like you can AMS through like one of them. I always time it so it's like after the sleet storm. So you let like the
Yeah.
initial stack plus like the next stack, those don't happen, and then you're kind of like 2 ahead on your stacks that way. But yeah, like if you get a resist on one and then you like AMS the next, then yeah, you can get like the full drop there. But
Yeah.
yeah, there do have to be like two wind chills that don't hit you to like drop it.
Oh,
So
okay. Is that the case in just in 25 or 10
in
man, you can
10
drop
man
it
it
by
might be
just, I don't know.
different. Things are
Yeah.
so different in 10 man. Like almost everything I do is 25. I'm most of the way through 10 man now. We're like 11 out of 13. I think we're 11 out of 13 on 10 man, but 25 man is like, 75 plus % of my time spent
Yeah.
in Cata raid so far. So everything I'd say is like based on that. I pretty much am never like actually like thinking of 10 man when I say things, but
Yeah. Personally, same with the DK, but
yeah, it's probably different because there's so many different timings. That's one of the like big things that I've noticed. Like as I'm doing 10 man, I'm like, oh, like this boss does no damage on 10 man. Oh, like this mechanic happens at a way different time, and like it's just like a different thing to get used to. Like I think on 10 man, like a lot of times people don't even like have a healer on some of the platforms on like Conclave, and uh like maybe you can do it on 25, but like it's definitely a lot easier on 10. And then
Oh, yeah.
like the blood decay healing like doesn't change a whole lot going from 10 to 25. Obviously changes with incoming damage a little bit, but if you're getting a lot of min DSs anyway, then it isn't actually really going to impact anything, and you'd rather just like take less damage in the first place from the boss, right?
Yeah.
So
Indeed.
yeah, did you have any other questions for us there? That was a great one though. We got off on a lot of tangents there.
Obviously this is a thing that's been brought up in well, the last time I was here too, but the in previous podcasts as well, with how to balance the different tanks. And I was just thinking about it. I was ruminating. I was the taking a long shower and getting all the juices flowing, and I was thinking, you know what? When I heard your idea for the protection warrior change to balance them a little bit, that sounds good. But then I was thinking a little bit about it, and I actually hate it now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Lay it on me. Lay it on me.
Because man, if I have to play a prot warrior where I only have to spam devastate, I'm gonna be so sad. I'm gonna be so sad.
It's like the SoD Prot Warrior all over again.
Yeah.
I would say so. I guess an additional change I would throw onto my So I'll just say what my previous change was: impending victory. Make that proc at any percent HP, not 20% or under. Just any HP it procs. Double the healing on it. Maybe more than that, but
Maybe more, yeah.
we'll start it at double the healing. So it's 10%, and then with the talents, I think it would get up to like 12 something percent, or you could glyph it too. So it'd get up to like, I think it would ultimately be like 17%, something like that, with like the glyph and like talents, everything like that.
Yeah.
So that was my proposal, but it only procs off Devastate. That's what Rihanna's bringing up here. I would amend this to it can proc off Shield Slam and Revenge as well. So just like as you're doing your like regular rotation, you still have this. You just everything you do, you have a chance to like proc it. Maybe Thunderclap. That might be too crazy. I mean, on AOE that would be fun as hell. Just every time you press Thunderclap, like you get a guaranteed victory rush. Maybe that'd be good.
Well, I mean, it would be guaranteed pretty much because it's currently 50% proc chance on Devastate.
Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah, 50% on like
targets.
eight mobs. Yeah.
Currently, do you feel like that talent is even worth something that's taking because of its like it's just so low?
Not at all.
Yeah, it's just wild that it's like
it's
can't
completely
even take
unusable.
the talent point.
Yeah.
And not only the not only is it not worth taking, but there are already so many talents that you're like, oh, I want to pick this up, but I can't because I only have so many points. So that would also be something that would feel bad about the active mitigation coming through impending or not. Well, active mitigation. their self-sustain coming through impending victory would be shit. Okay, now I had to drop points in like either cruelty or shield specialization or deep wounds or whatever. And ideally, I want to put more points in the arms tree because once we reach CTC, I want to be able to stand. So I want technical mastery as well. So, yeah. I don't know.
I
I
like
don't know,
the,
man. I don't know what the right choice is.
I'm a huge fan of in the heroics the gag order where your heroic throw or whatever it is can silence things from super far away. I absolutely love that talent. I think it's super awesome. It should just be baseline for prop warriors, honestly. But
Yeah,
And
that
that's not
one's
a point
awesome
you
in
don't really
heroics.
take in
it's just something
in a
you can't
baseline
really
build.
take otherwise.
Yeah. No other like thoughts on like changes they might make though to bring the pro warrior up. Now that I mean you've played it quite a bit now, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's in a bad place.
Okay.
Like necessarily. I think it's in a horrible place if you're on a main tank.
Yeah.
Obviously.
For that off tank
But
role though, it seems
yeah,
totally
but
fine. Yeah.
it has great utility for the off tank role. Obviously you're the best off tank in the game. I think by far with all your mobility, shockwave on a 17-second cooldown, and then I think safeguard is such an underutilized
Mhm.
talent as well. Like 30% damage reduction for 6 seconds on a 30-second cooldown. That's theoretically 20% uptime. Like
It's
nothing
pretty
else
crazy. And
comes
like
close.
yeah, the threat drop from it too like doesn't really
Yeah.
matter anymore. Like that was actually
No.
a bit of a factor in Wrath, at least toward the end, like ICC when, all the
Yeah.
DPS were doing insane threat, but at this
Yeah.
point it's like negligible.
Yeah, it does not matter. And it's not like the way that externals are used is like to mitigate overall incoming damage, kind of like early progression, phase 1 Lich King. You just needed to have active mitigations or external cooldowns throughout the entire phase just because the tank was taking so much damage. But now it's just really utilized for big hitting abilities. So man, I feel like that's such an underutilized spell as well, and has huge implications, I think, in progression rating. So who knows in Firelands once we get a little bit more gear up there, what role the Prot Warrior will play. But I still think that the shield tanks need more value from mastery, so they can reach their CTC cap. Because playing without it, feels bad.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing because like I mean the patch we're on right now, it was all balanced around like Dragon Soul gear. And
Yeah.
like that's why they like reduced all the like percent block you get from mastery because there's way more of it available on the gear.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
we're just playing in a patch where like the things we're dealing with are based on things that happen way later. So yeah, it would be nice. Do you have like a ballpark estimate like how much more like block percent you would need from like 1 point of mastery to make it like a little bit better?
I haven't done those
Okay.
calculations, but
No
yeah,
worries, no worries.
either make it per point more from mastery or just up the base
Oh, the
block
baseline.
value.
Yeah.
Because the mastery is already the strongest stat for block tanks by far. So
yeah,
maybe it would just skew things so that if you increase the mastery value from the per point part, that you would just completely stop going stamina as well, or any piece that doesn't have mastery on it just being completely dead more than it already is now. But yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping to see something at least.
Yeah, well, there were some devs on the Countdown to Classic podcast a few weeks ago. I'm not sure if you listened to that at all.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, yeah, they were kind of saying that they were open to like making some changes, but they were waiting until the raids come out, and then they could see like the data on like how much tanks are being played and everything. So hopefully now that we've got a few weeks of data, maybe we'll see some changes. I was kind of
I
joking.
got a I was gonna say I got a
Yeah, go ahead.
rank 1 parse with my prop warrior on Chimera on with
Oh,
12k
nice.
DPS. So I think that
Okay, all right.
I think
Yeah,
that there needs to be some more warrior representation.
yeah. Right. What's blood DK on that fight? Probably the rank one's probably 24k or something like that.
Yeah, something
Like
like that.
literally
Yeah.
double. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wild. Yeah, I was kind of joking in my Discord that since the devs are looking at the stats to see like how well represented these tanks are, everybody needs to just like boycott Prop High and Prop Warrior to lower the numbers, and then they'll see, oh, there's only like 25 Prop Warriors. Like obviously we gotta buff them. So do your part, boycott the Prop Warrior till it gets buffed, and we'll be good. But
And I
yeah.
don't think there's anything actively needed to be done there. I think the community is doing just fine on that end.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing that feels kind of bad about Warrior is it feels like it's stuck in the Stone Age, in a way, because it has to put up like Thunderclap on a different GCD, and then it has to put up Demoralizing Shout on a different GCD, where a
Mm.
lot of the tanks are just getting that implemented to some of their rotation that they're already doing. Not that Pro Warriors aren't doing Thunderclap, but more like Demoralizing Roar and stuff like that, right? Like, so it's just another thing that you're putting up every 45 seconds or whatever it is,
Mm.
that other tanks just don't even have to think about.
Yeah, it's only druids and warriors that
Yeah.
the classic tanks that have to
Yeah.
worry about that.
Yeah, for at least for like the attack speed debuff, like generally you're gonna have a DK like putting up
Yeah.
that debuff for you, so you shouldn't really have to do that. And then if you are filling that off tank role, you may not need to do the attack or the physical damage debuff either. But as an off tank, a lot of times you're tanking ads that are like far away. So in that case, of course you do. But like for just a fight like Chimeron, for example, where there's one mob, the bloody kid is gonna be on it too. Like you don't have to worry about it there, but yeah, it is just an extra layer of just maintaining all your debuffs and everything that bloody kid just does by default.
Yeah, it's just like it just feels like another slap in the face. They're like, "We're evolving, but you are not."
Yeah,
But you do get
Yeah, well,
Heroic Leap, so I guess there's
you get
that.
heroic leap. Yeah, um, the most fun ability
but
in the game.
the
And then you get to
cataclysm
choose.
heroic leap.
Then you get to choose
Oh
your own survivability or the raids with your last stand and rallying cry.
wait,
You always get to make the choice.
what do you not like about the Cata version of heroic leap?
The cataclysm version of heroic leap is not great with pathing. As if there's a
Oh, okay.
little bit of a hill, if there's a little bit of a stair going on, you cannot use it.
Yeah, I have noticed that now that you mentioned that. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
didn't they do that because originally it was like super busted when it first came out? Like I remember you were able to just scale walls with it before.
Yeah.
Like you could literally heroic leap and it would just keep you up on the wall.
Yeah. They figured out a little compromise to it, but things like that, just like why not implement the
Yeah.
more modern version of it? But oh well.
All right. Anything else here, or we can hop into the news?
I mean, we can hop into stuff, and I'm sure we'll take some side paths to
Of course.
to get to where we're going.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we'll hop into the news. We're starting off with some SoD stuff here. The Phase 4 PTR just came out. They are doing a ton of changes. It seems like this will probably bring some people back into the game. But the first thing I noticed was that they're keeping in the Discoverer's Delight. So that's the 150% XP buff for 1 to 50 and 50% XP buff for 50 to 60. This has been kind of a weird one for me because, like, a lot of vanilla gameplay is like the leveling part, like, is more about the journey, not the destination. And then with SoD, they're like, what if we just give you a crazy XP buff right out the gate? Everybody just hits, the phase level cap like immediately. It feels like a weird choice. I don't know. How do you guys feel about the this XP buff just right out the gate?
I think it allows you to play more classes, which was kind of the point of Season of Discovery, where Classic, that wasn't so much the point. Like you kind of like live in your one character in your world. Not that we didn't have alts. I'm just saying it just allows you to, explore more options, which I think is kind of the point of this, right? So I think it makes sense.
I think that's it's a little bit of a misnomer comparing Season of Discovery to classic vanilla. They're definitely not the same, and Season of Discovery I don't think is like necessarily the classic plus, if you will. Like I think it's just more about like getting to max level, trying out a bunch of whack stuff, and I think having the normal level scaling is um, just deterring people from playing more than one character. So I think it makes sense, and especially now with the 50-60 bracket, that does take a little bit of time to get through. Just having it right out of the gate makes sense, I think, in my opinion.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I guess that's part of the thing is like early on, it kind of seemed like this was gonna lean more vanilla, and
Yeah.
like just with expanding on that, like going into this, I kind of thought it was gonna be more of the TBC approach, where it's like you have like the basic like vanilla stuff still there, but then they kind of make improvements to things. But they just took like a completely different direction. They're like, what if we add mop abilities, wad abilities, wrath abilities to everything? It
New
just
ones.
yeah, there are some new ones too. Like yeah, I mean like particularly for like mage, like the mage healer and stuff like that. But I feel like at least for the classes I was playing, it was a lot of just like bringing in wrath abilities or later ones.
Mhm.
I like how they didn't quite hit the mark on that though, because like if you look at the logs, while mage healing was a thing, you just didn't take them. Like they didn't like if you're progressing through stuff, you just did not take them. You took them for damage, sure, but like mage healers just weren't really super viable, right? There's no way to like dispel magic, so you're not really good in that case.
Mm.
Where priest is like shines, like that's exactly what they're there for. That and paladin. So I don't know.
I
It
think
just didn't feel super good.
yeah, the mage filled the niche of being like the third healer. Like if you or in a 10-man setting at least, like the third healer.
Nope,
Where
he's
in
back. He's back.
yeah. In if you were running two healers and were struggling with healing, then having one that is like a hybrid that still can pump out some pretty good damage while also providing raid healing, you know, then that niche can be filled. But that's a very niche scenario, so you don't really bring it outside of hey, sorry, sorry, mage, you're not gonna get to play fire this week. Go arcane. We need to progress this fight.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then it becomes the question of does healer damage matter?
Yes. Yes.
We're now announced that in tanks it's the healers. Kick
I
him
think
out
it
of the
takes
guild. He's only doing 1k.
I think it's probably like two more expansions until healer damage starts to matter. But yeah.
Hey, you get with Treeform, you get like a buff to Wrath now. Okay, just get on that, druids. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Get in that Treeform and start spamming those Wraths.
Oh yeah.
So also this phase there's gonna be new cloak rune slots and ring rune slots. The cloak ones are gonna be like new abilities that people are used to. The ring ones though, these are gonna be like weapon skill, spell hit, stuff like that. They had mentioned before that like picking the races that give weapon skill ratios wasn't gonna matter. We finally got here. You can pick weapon skill and spell hit stuff like that. The cloak rune slots though, these are gonna be like all new stuff. The Pally one, that was kind of one of the ones I looked at. Like I haven't played SoD in quite a while, but I'm always curious like kind of what's going on with the Prop Alley, my first love. So Prop Alley is getting Shield of Righteousness, same Shield of Righteousness you're used to, like 6-second cooldown, skills with block value. Vindication Talon now decreases target's attack power and increases the paladin's strength, agility, and attack power by up to 20% for 10 seconds. Sounds kind of wild. And then Righteous Vengeance, Judgment, Crusader Strike, Divine Storm, and Holy Shock now deal additional percent of their damage over 8 seconds. So basically, like holy version of Deep Wounds, I guess. Did you guys look at these? Were there any new runes that kind of jumped out to you?
I did like. Sorry, go ahead, Rihanna.
Oh, I was gonna say as a hunter main in Season of Discovery, it felt very underwhelming this phase. But we got a pretty big overall in how we played last phase, so I guess we can't get it all.
I did like that Beacon of Light. It's not a rune, but Beacon of Light was changed to a 1 hour buff now, so you're buffing it less than your blessings, which I thought was pretty
That's
hilarious.
interesting.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I actually didn't see that one.
But one of my favorite things is one of my friends, had DM'd me, and she's like, "Did you see the Paladin portion? It's like huge compared to everything else. Like they changed so much stuff on Paladins. It's just like a huge wall of text. It's absolutely insane. Like Priest got like a little tiny section, Mage got a little tiny section. But anyway, off on that tangent, the probably my favorite rune is, since I play Mage a lot, is the Frozen Orb, only because it was like one of my favorite spells in like Diablo and stuff. So something I'm looking forward to seeing how they do.
Yeah, a lot of the runes also are just becoming baseline abilities. So classes are going to be changing quite a bit, and then there's going to be replacement runes for like anything that is becoming a baseline thing. So it seems like everything's going to get shaken up a ton here. It's kind of going to feel like a brand new game. It sounds like the nightmare incursions are now going to be daily quest hubs, which is kind of interesting because a lot of the complaints I saw were that people were like, "Oh, daily quests don't belong in like in vanilla WoW." Obviously, SoD's pretty far from vanilla WoW now, but it's just kind of interesting, like the direction SoD's gone from being like, oh, it's like kind of trying to be like a vanilla thing, and then it's like, all right, we're fully into the, everybody's got crazy abilities, we got daily quests, all that stuff. This seems like it probably is a better system though. Like I never did the nightmare incursions, but from what I heard, it was a little ridiculous, just the infinitely repeatable system.
I feel like this is, the only solution was to make it this, or to just remove them, or maybe gate them to lower levels. But honestly, making them dailies kind of removes them as well. Because, I mean, who's gonna go all the way to Ashenvale, do that, fly from Stormwind, take the boat from Booty Bay and fly up and run over on your mount and do, a few quests, and then, oh, all right, well, I guess I'm off somewhere else now.
Wait, you're forgetting it's classic. There's a warlock there to, you can pay for a summon.
That's true. That's true. All right, I take it back.
But they actually have the rings. So if you have 2 accounts, this is something that I do. I have a character parked at every nightmare incursion, and if you go into the nightmare, you can use your ring and like teleport to a friendly party member.
Oh,
sort of like the mages can do with like liminal passage and stuff. So you can just literally do that, but still, I don't think it's worth it, and I don't think many people are doing that. You know what I mean? Like requiring 2 accounts to get somewhere quickly is kind of stupid.
Yeah, I wonder if they're like increasing the rewards from the incursions.
They should.
If they can only be done once, like I would kind of assume they would maybe like triple or even more, the rewards from doing a single one of the quests. Because I mean, like you said, like spending all that time to like get there just to, do a few quests, it's not really going to be worth your while.
And the rewards you get from the rep itself, like the Exalted thing, is like almost negligible. Like no one even went to Exalted. It was like totally not even worth it.
Yeah.
Outside of like the very first, like once one person got it and realized like what you got, and it was like a crazy broken gold method thing you could do. Outside of that, yeah, no one really cared about Exalted. Yeah. Can't remember what it was, but
I think it was like when you were like whenever you'd kill something, you have an extra chance to get the stuff that drops in the incursions, like the mining herbalism skinning thing, or like you don't have to have that profession to be able to get them.
Yeah,
like you can literally just grab them.
Yeah. So also 20 player Molten Core is coming. Are you guys interested in this at all? They are adding a heat mechanic apparently, where you can increase the difficulty level. There's a few different difficulty levels, and yeah, I think they did something similar in Season of Mastery with some of the raids, where you could basically like increase difficulty level and you'd get like an extra piece of loot for any boss you killed. But you guys excited for Molten Core? The 20 man?
Only if the heat is labeled as different peppers. It's got to be the Scoville scale of heat. Otherwise, I don't want it. I'm actually more excited for the. I know we haven't talked about it just yet, but I'm more excited for the instance world bosses so that people actually get to do them. Right? Like some people I know never got to experience, like Azergos, even, right? So being able to experience some of this stuff for almost basically the first time for some people, I think hopefully should be somewhat fun. But yeah, increased difficulty is good usually, right? So let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. Like I haven't really been thinking much about SoD lately, but I will say that it's probably a good thing having more difficult stuff in the game, especially now that we can get to that true end game. But SoD players, I also feel like just want to steamroll things. Like Sunken Temple was a little bit hard at the beginning, and man, oh man, was there a lot of whining about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it seems like there's a wide variety to like what people want. Like there's definitely a ton of people that want like way easier stuff. There's like a small minority, it seems like, that want like a little bit harder stuff. So hopefully this will, cover all the bases. But at the same time, it feels like classic players, they all kind of feel like they should be able to do the hardest mode on everything.
Yeah.
This one might be a little different just because I think it's only like an extra piece of loot for each like difficulty instead of just like actually getting higher item level and like so everybody should, I think, still be able to get the same eye level stuff. So maybe that'll be the difference. But like definitely it seemed like everybody felt like they were kind of entitled to like clear ICC on heroic. And yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like if you got a heroic and normal system, if everybody clears heroic, why does normal exist?
Yeah. I agree. I think it's a bit different as well with SOD, the difficulty levels, because for I'm not gonna say most people, but I feel like a majority of people, it's SOD is a side game, right? You don't play SOD to have as your main progression game. So having super difficult progression stuff kind of just feels weird. Like I'm personally not gonna go back and multi-day raid SOD. I think a lot of people are in the same boat. Like, I want to kind of, get in there, be able to clear it all in one night. And, if maybe we don't do it, the last boss in one day, that's fine. There's always next week. But like going in and having really hard progression stuff doesn't really feel like SOD, but, we'll see what we get.
Yeah, I feel like most people I know are kind of in that same boat where it's like they want to check out the new phase, but they don't really want to commit to it much at all. It's like they want to hop in, do literally like a 1 hour raid a week, and that's all they want to do.
I think it says something about the raiders and like players' attention span these days, and like how long it lasts and how rewarding things are, like instant gratification, etc., etc. Because things like SoD, it feels like this, especially this last phase, the hype died down a lot with like Cataclysm launching and other things going on, or the missteps with incursions, whatever it may be, right? That had you not play. The same thing kind of happened with Season of Mastery, where like the Molten Core phase seemed like it just lasted too long or something like that, and then people quit. But it was also because they were trying to fine tune things like BWL. But some of those raids, like BWL, was actually insanely fun and like well thought out. And I don't know if you guys, I don't think Subtle did it at all. I don't know if you dabbled in that at all, Riani, but it was like a blast. Chromagus was absolutely insane, and I think it was like difficult without being like heroic, and some people just could not clear it. So it was like exactly that, right? Where if there's it's the normal version, right? And not everyone could clear it. That's just what it was.
Mm.
And I think a lot of people missed out on something that was insanely fun because either Blizzard or just our attention span, whatever it may be, you know what I mean? So I think Blizzard probably has some good stuff in store for us that unfortunately some of us just aren't going to see because we couldn't get there, right? Like we couldn't last, or they couldn't hold us, because they made the wrong decision, whatever it may be, right?
I think it's also about recognizing what kind of game you're releasing. Like if you're not going to be releasing Mist of Pandaria remix as a main a game that people are going to be like having as their main game to progress in, build a guild and community, and come back day after day to try to get down to Garroth or Garrosh Mythic, and I think the same case is kind of for these seasonal type of servers where season mastery, season of discovery, that people don't have these as their main games, and making the content so hard that you need progression on it makes a lot of people not want to engage with it. Um, but it is a bit unfortunate too, because it's a lot of fun can come out of having to progress new and cool bosses like the Season of Mastery BWL stuff. But it's just not really the way we engage with the game. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I think it's just kind of a shame, right? And it's, after all, is said and done, Blizzard is a company, right? They need to make their money.
Yeah.
Developers can't spend that much time on something if it's not worth it for the company because they just won't let them, right? So at the end of it all, that's what it is.
Yeah, I think they just like didn't go into it with like a clear enough long-term plan of what they wanted to
Yeah.
do. Like they had to like short-term idea, and then SOD exploded. It did way, way better than they ever thought it would do. And then they were like, oh, okay, this is actually more popular than we thought. We have to like commit more resources to it. And I think that's a big contributor to why like the Cata beta was so bad, the Cata pre-patch was so bad, because they just like scrambled to like put more people on SOD to try to capitalize on that, and Cata suffered from that. But yeah, I don't know. Hopefully in the future, like if they do a seasonal thing like this, they have a little bit more like fleshed out idea of kind of long term what they want to do, so they aren't
Yeah.
caught off guard like it seemed like they were with SOD.
I feel like
Should
SoD
just do.
Phase 1 was really good. Like, sure, it didn't have a ton of things to do. After you kind of got past the, getting to level 25, getting your runes, getting your rank 3 PvP, and then raid logging for your 3-day lockout. But the changes that were made in Phase 1 with the runes we had then still made it feel like a Classic Plus version. Like you you could tank as a paladin because you had the righteous fury glyph, and there were some little cool additions and cool rune acquisition, and when you were playing it, you still kind of felt like you were playing classic, but with a little bit of a twist. But now when you're playing your hunter or your paladin or whatever, and we're not even at the final stage yet, now when you're playing it, it just feels like a totally different game. And usually classic hunters are pretty slow in their rotation, and it's a lot of looking at your auto shot bar and stuff like that. But man, now it's just like throwing out abilities left and right, trap weaving, and your no worries. Let's go into Aspect of the Viper for 2 seconds, and then you're full mana again. I think it just went too far, honestly. But maybe that's just my boomer take.
No, I think I agree with you. I'm kind of wondering if they leaned into the Diablo 3 thing, or I think they might be doing it with Diablo 4. I haven't dabbled in it too much, but like seasonal, like literally seasonal, right? Like 3-month things. And classic players, trigger warning here, love the word fresh. You know what I mean? Every 3 months, make something fresh. It would take a lot from, maybe other stuff, but it would also build a ton of hype. Like, who doesn't love something new every 3 months? Like, that's exactly what all these things are, right? Like battle passes and stuff like that, right? That's what it is.
Yeah, I'm hoping they expand this. So like all this seasonal stuff has been just like vanilla WoW as like the base so far. I'm hoping they expand this to like maybe we get some crazy TBC thing, some, crazy rat thing. Just like something that's not vanilla. That's what I'd be super into, but interested to kind of see how this whole SoD thing wraps up with stuff they have planned at level 60, because like they did tease like Karazhan Crypts, and so far we don't know if like that's actually ever gonna happen. But I guess remains to be seen.
Well, they did the SM too, right? Like they showed like the courtyard picture, and you're like, oh wow, this is gonna be awesome. But you did do SM, but it was literally just leveling in there for 15 levels, right?
Yeah.
Get to where you needed to be.
SM would be like the logical like next like an SM raid would be the logical next step after like Nax, because like you have the corrupted Ashbringer in there. With the corrupted Ashbringer, it allows you to do some special RP stuff over in SM. So kind of to me the logical next step from Nax, if you were to make a raid after that, would be Ashbringer is like part of the attunement for that, and like somebody in your raid needs to have corrupted Ashbringer that allows you to start the next thing in SM. But
and then it's time to purify the Ashbringer, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
What if they made it in reverse, where you were in like Cataclysm zones and Cataclysm bosses, and they were normal mode only, not heroic, but you had classic talents, right? Like, so it was like reversed, where you're like, oh, I gotta get traverse through the world with these clunky characters and see
Get
if I can
out of
actually
here.
do these raids.
Yeah. Wait a second.
We could still have DKs. Blood DKs would still be BIS. Is that better?
Would blood DKs even exist?
Yeah. No, they would for this. Yeah.
Paladins have runes that turns them into a dark paladin.
Okay.
And
nice.
You're a DP instead. You're a death paladin.
That's right.
Yeah. I thought you were going somewhere else there with the DP, but
wow.
Yeah, the Death Paladin for everybody at home.
Kids.
Yeah, we Hando alluded to it briefly, but the world bosses being instanced. This is there was like the daily quest thing I read, the XP while you're leveling, then the daily quest thing, and then the instance world bosses, and like kind of like seeing those three things in the patch notes, like to me, like really drove home that this is not Classic Plus is not a like vanilla oriented game at all. This is just sort of like a honestly kind of cataclysm ish Wrath slash Cata style game, just set in the vanilla world now. Do you think that is kind of fair to say?
Yeah. Not even Cata has instance world bosses, but yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, like so this is I mean, like one of the most iconic things of vanilla is like, you know, the world boss is a big part of that too. Kind of the, you know, the battles that happen, trying to grab the world boss, the competition that happens there. Uh, how do we feel about this making these instants?
I think based on what the game is supposed to be, I think it just makes sense. Like it's, you know, you want everyone to enjoy the content, and like it's like you said, right, the normal and heroic thing or whatever. Some things, or I think you said it even back in when ST launched, like it's supposed to be short lived, right? So just kind of let them have fun.
I played the game for coming up on 20 years now. Jesus. Anyway,
Getting old.
I just you know, had some life flash behind in front of my eyes or something. uh, and I've never done a world boss in vanilla,
Really?
so yeah.
Even on like
Never.
BFA and stuff, where it was like you just join in the tag and you get something.
No, I mean, of course, like those type of world bosses I've definitely done,
Okay.
but like
Well, that still counts, right?
the
I
cats.
think.
I mean, those are just like those are
It's a
just like
different
weekly
thing.
quests. You just go there
It's
and do it.
Okay.
a little
um,
bit different, yeah.
but no, I've never done Kazakh or Asurgos or anything like that. So um, I don't really feel like I have a desire to do them either. But it's not like they have engaging mechanics or anything like that. But yeah, it'll be cool to see nonetheless, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like back in vanilla, my guild was like the guild that usually got most of the world bosses. So I did a lot of these back in the day. I mean, this was like you know, like 2004, 2005, 2006, and like we'd literally like call people up on the phone, like, "Hey, world boss is up, get
Yeah,
online!" Like we're doing it.
yeah.
Like there was no Discord or anything. Like we were literally just calling everybody. Some
Pick
people
up.
like yeah, some people like you were calling their home phone, like their mom would pick up. And you're like, hey, can I talk to like you didn't even know their real name. You're like, can I talk to your son? And and like you'd use their in-game name, whatever. And somehow it worked out. I don't know.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, for me, that was like a core part of my like vanilla memories is like, you know, gathering everybody for the world bosses, getting there, you know, the competition, like getting there right as you kill the world boss and you feel
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess it's good to so everybody can kind of see these. Like if even somebody like Riani like hasn't done these before, then like there's gotta be like what 95+% of the population probably hasn't done these before.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot
I
of
think
people that
that
don't
it
care
loses a bit
to
of
rush to them.
its it loses a bit of its charm with them being instants because like the cool thing about world bosses is not necessarily like the fights because the fights themselves
Hmm.
like I've obviously seen them and like they're nothing interesting. But the cool thing is kind of the control and the dominion and oh, the world boss goes down to 70%, but then you see a raid of horde riding in the wolves in the distance, and it's making calls like, okay, spread out, kite, burn it down, or go on a counterattack, or the PvP aspect is probably that's what makes it
Hmm.
cool. But what's ultimately more cool than an epic battle playing the game is loot. So great change. Great change.
Great change. Got the Riani seal of approval.
So why don't they add best of both worlds here? They instance the world bosses, and then give us like a every 3 hours PvP event where you have to like capture the objective, and the objective is the world boss. Like it's like a 40 versus
Hmm.
40 AV situation, and the like objective is to control the boss and kill him or whatever. I think that would be something that would be probably pretty interesting. Like make it like an world boss situation,
Yeah, I
even if it's
wonder
longer than three
I
hours.
wonder
You know,
too if like do we know if these world bosses still exist in the world, but you can also like find them in the instance? I wonder if like there's that chance at like additional loot because
yeah, I don't think
I
they've
think that
confirmed
would
that.
be kind of cool. If you at least it wouldn't fully like take away that whole competitive aspect to like getting the world bosses. If you could get it out in the world as just a little bit more loot you could get, but there'd also
Mm,
be like the instance one.
yeah, I don't know. That would be kind of a cool idea. Like, you have the instance one, but it's on a lockout, and then
Hmm.
you can be a little bit extra sweaty and do some win trading or whatever. And yeah.
So the should mention too, these are tuned for 20 players, but you can bring 40. So that should, significantly lower the difficulty level. If you need the extra players, you can bring them. But
And that means that
tuned
you're
for
gonna bring
20.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For I mean, yeah, this is gonna kind of. I guess VOA might be like the best comparison.
Spec
Is
run.
like a spec run.
Ah,
Yeah, exactly.
ah,
Like that's basically what this is gonna become. Just
yeah.
bring the fewest number of people you need to do this, so that you can maximize your loot. I assume there's not. Maybe there is gonna be trash in these instances. Just like some of the trash that would be like in the area around those bosses. I was kind of thinking you zone in, you only do the boss, but maybe they
Mhm.
include some of the like trash that would be near that boss.
It's a simulated PvP event. The faction champions just jump out of the ceiling
Yeah.
and start attacking
Yeah, simulate the whole
you.
competition. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that would be hilarious actually. Like I mean, faction champions back in the day generated like probably the most like salty forum posts I've ever seen. People were so mad. They're like, "Why is there PvP in my PvE?" And like they were just upset. And yeah, if we could bring that back, I'd be a big fan. It's
And then
great, great reading material.
they were happy there was no trash, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Wait, I kind of miss trash."
Wait, are we the trash?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, so also we got some new tier set bonuses. Have you guys like looked at any of these?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So for me, the main one that jumped out was the prop alley one. The 6-piece Lawbringer bonus. Holy Shield no longer has charges and instead always lasts its full duration. In addition, its damage is increased by 200% of shield block value. I mean, this is an insane bonus. Like,
Yeah.
when I read this, like I almost wanted to like play SoD again. Then I remembered like you have to get a million world buffs and consumes every week for the raid, and I'm like, maybe not. But this right here, this looks pretty good. If they took out world buffs and capped like consumes, I think I'd actually play this. The 4-piece bonus though, heal for 189 to 211 when you block, can only heal once every few seconds. This, I mean, every few seconds, it feels kind of bad. When I
Yeah.
first read this, I was like, ooh, this is kind of crazy. But then you read the few seconds and it's like, okay. So it doesn't actually really do anything. If they lowered this, that would be pretty awesome. Like maybe lower it to like 0.5 second ICD. Then it would be a lot more appealing. But this 6 piece makes up for it. I mean, this is insane. Huge fan of that. That I would be gunning for this if I was still playing SOD.
Yeah, some of those six pieces are like absolutely insane. Like some of just the tier bonuses in general are just insane, and some of them like are game changing and then some of them just don't make any sense. You're like, what? The
What
one that
was
I
there?
liked for the mage
Yeah.
was the evocation. Well, it's a long cooldown in classic, but it makes you immune to all sources of damage while
Oh,
channeling it,
okay.
which I thought was pretty interesting. And it's just a 2-piece, so I imagine for like PvP, if someone had
Wait,
just used their
yeah.
interrupt, I think that would be like a huge tool.
Yeah, this is wild. I hadn't seen that one. I gotta think this is gonna get changed, right? Like a two-piece bonus? This seems insane.
Yeah, I imagine for PvP it would be pretty good because you
Mm-hmm.
can abuse it. Like mages have a 24-second cooldown CS, right? So if you're fighting another mage, you can
Mm-hmm.
literally just use this when they're trying to unload into you right after they CS. Good to go.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's like any cool raid mechanic you could use this for. Like in Wrath, like Algalon's Big Bang, something like that. I'm trying to think if there's like any vanilla
We
kind of
couldn't
mechanic
use
this
that,
could be big for.
right? You couldn't use that for Algalon, right? Because you couldn't even bubble Algalon's Big Bang, right? It would kill you.
You take damage.
Oh yeah, it would, huh? But I mean, bad comparison, I guess,
I see what
or
you're
bad
saying. Yeah.
example. But yeah,
Mhm.
I'm just kind of thinking like if there's any like crazy raid mechanic you could immune with it. Like, I mean, I guess you could be cool at just like sit in Cthulhu's like dark glare, maybe. Just chill there. Don't even dodge
True.
it.
True.
Just
Yeah, because it goes
flex
very
on your
quick.
raid. Yeah, it's tough to dodge, man. Yeah.
Tough to dodge.
Mhm.
We had a
The four
shaman
piece.
once die like 3 times on that fight in the same pull.
Oh
Like
wow.
one was like dark glare, and then it was like, I don't even know how he died that many times, but one was dark glare. I remember that. I'll never forget.
Yeah, it's pretty rare to see those deaths. It feels like the 4-piece for the mage seem pretty interesting too, where it like forces you to cast different school of magic to gain your percentage damage bonus. I just don't know how viable it'll be, right? Like it might be better off just either figuring out which global is like short enough to keep that up, or just not using it at all.
Yeah, definitely some interesting stuff. Like these tier set bonuses are, I think they're pretty awesome. Like most of the ones I've seen, and they were the main thing, like almost like drawing me back into SoD. So I think people are gonna be pretty excited by these. The only thing that's kind of weird is like apparently they said like BWL was gonna come a few weeks after MC. So like I don't know if these are really gonna have like a lot of time to breathe. Maybe some of them are so good like you won't even want your tier two, but I mean theoretically they make some pretty crazy tier two sets as well.
SOD splits for to get tier pieces on your progression characters for BWL.
Hey,
Exactly.
that was part of classic though, right? Like getting that going back for that
Mm,
onslaught girdle even when you were like
yeah,
about to go into next.
yeah.
Yeah.
The rids were always relevant for something. They're also updating the legendaries. So this was kind of cool. They're trying to
Mm.
make them like
Yeah.
more usable by more people. So feral druids, feral attack power got added to Sulfuris. It also gets an additional debuff when it procs, reduces target armor and gives like a gift of Arthas, like increased physical damage taken kind of deal. Plus more damage, more fire damage on the proc. Do you guys think they might change like Thunder Fury to, maybe there's like a spell power variation or anything like that?
Hmm.
I mean, all I know is that Thunder Fury is Hunter Prio now.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah. Now
Yeah.
that you're melee, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
it's
is
time.
finally it
Finally.
coming through.
Back in vanilla, our guild actually got a binding before like anybody knew what they were for. So the first one did go to a hunter because hunter was on like the listed like classes. So they're like, oh yeah, okay, just give it to this hunter. Jello, I think was his name. Give it to Jello. It says hunter right on the weapon. So yeah,
Mhm.
makes sense. Or on the binding, makes sense.
Mhm.
Just give it to the hunter. And so yeah, first binding we ever got went to the hunter.
I mean, it makes sense. I think that's how it should be.
Yeah, that's right. He was probably an officer or a leader. That's how it works. That's how it
Yeah, I
works.
can't remember if he was at the time, but yeah, Hunter Prio, 100%.
This brings up an interesting point with one of my friends. He plays like a feral druid pretty constantly throughout the entire game, and he was complaining to me that feral druids actually never got a legendary,
Hmm,
right? Like
good to
ever
know.
in the history of the game. And
No,
well, other than like Legion, obviously, which I guess was an artifact more than but they had like their side legendaries and stuff. But I always memed on him, and I was like, "No, you guys could use Hand of Rag and ETS. You got two in Classic. Like ETS had feral attack power on it." And he's like, "No, that doesn't count. It wasn't made for like it has int and spell power. It doesn't count." So now I can tell him, "Ha, it is. See, I told you.
It was all along.
That's right."
and what do we think now as well? Does this mean that this will be Feral Druid Prio because it has the the tanking portion to it as well? Because I mean, it's either a two-handed paladin tank or a Feral Druid tank, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I guess it would also kind of depend on what classes are like performing the best. Like I don't know if like arms or like two hand fury is gonna be like sick in this phase. Like maybe you give it to them, but and like if feral juice is like doing a lot of damage, like sure, yeah, give it to the feral. I love it. Just mix it up. Something we haven't really like seen before. That's what SOD's for, right? Is like all this crazy stuff we haven't really been doing before. Give sulfurous to the feral.
Yeah,
Yeah,
why
I'm
not?
a little
Why not?
upset. I'm a little upset that they didn't add like, oh, if you have Sulfuris on, your Wind Fury can, trigger 19 attacks in a row because they've got to do something for Shaman to make them even more OP, right? Like this is not enough for those Shaman lovers out there. They need some more love.
I'm really sad that there isn't a another equip bonus on it. That's if you have it equipped as a feral druid, you get the fire cat form from
Ooh.
Firelance.
I
Oh,
like
that would be
that.
pretty cool.
Yeah. Then it's definitely Feral Brow. That would be
I thought you were going to say
amazing.
something. I thought he was going to say something completely different there, like hunters can use this mace despite not being able to use maces.
I mean,
Hunter
you
Pride.
have the rune, right? And so I'm sure we can make it
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of getting weapon skill, added on, you just get the ability to use that weapon. That's your rune slot.
I like it. Another thing that was pretty interesting in the game files, we got the bind on account Drigfire amulet from the Onyxia attunement. So
Mm.
this is looking like you probably just do the Ani attunement on one character, and then you can just mail it to any character. You don't have to redo the entire quest chain. So, in the spirit of SOD being super alt friendly, this seems like a good change because that was a pretty significant time investment to get multiple characters through the Ani chain, but it, at the same time is one of the like most iconic, quest chains in vanilla. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think for seasonal, like this is probably fine. Probably a good change.
I
I'm
don't like it.
honestly surprised that they kept in the attunement at all.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a good point.
yeah.
I think it's iconic enough they kind of feel like they have to probably, but
Yeah, I think so too.
I think this is a good compromise because
Mm.
yeah, I think people would be kind of upset if they just
Not
completely
my
got rid of
classic.
it. Yeah.
I don't like it because it means I have to keep all my characters logged in at random times because the world buffs aren't going to go out as often because you won't need to do the
Ooh,
attunement.
that's a really good point actually. Yeah, this is gonna be fewer world buffs going out. I
I mean, the
wonder.
rewards behind them initially were insane, so people did them for that, if nothing else, right? Like the
Yeah.
Black Hand's Breath and stuff was insane.
Yeah, I wonder how good those will be though compared to the new stuff. At least
Right.
Black Hands or the Rend part of the chain, that's pretty early. That's pretty quick.
Yeah.
So I
For
guess
Horde, yeah.
it shouldn't really be too big of a deal. Do we think they're gonna add like an alliance version of the rend buff?
Maybe, or maybe they'll just change the world buffs in general. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's the head of Rag or something. Maybe it has nothing to do with,
Oh,
or the head of Oni, right? Maybe it just has nothing to do with Rend or anything like that, right?
yeah, that'd be kind of interesting if like when you turn in the Ani head, you just like get rend also.
Yeah, there
Could
you
be a
go.
solid change. All right. Also, we got some new epic rings. These kind of seem like they're probably just new blood moon rings, but have some
Mm.
pretty interesting effects on them. This one, it's like 2% chance when you're attacked that you fear your target. Uh, and then there's increase range of mend pet by 50% and the effect by 10%. Also reduces cost by 30% as a hunter player. Is this interesting at all to you, Riani?
Incredible. No, I mean, it's may have some implications in like solo stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not like you're gonna be using mem pets in your
Yeah.
raid and whatnot. Um, but yeah, no, it doesn't look too interesting as a hunter.
Just for the solo players.
Yep.
All right, guys. I think that's it for SOD. We'll move on. We only got like a little bit of cat news. We obviously talked tons of cat earlier too, though. But the race change, faction change, and server transfer cooldowns are reduced. And not just reduced, they are significantly reduced. They got reduced from 30 days to 3 days. So I mean this presumably this will make Blizzard a lot more money. If people are able to like use these services way more often. For what are they like $25 for race change? Or is it more? It's a decent amount. And then faction
It's fair, yeah.
change, server transfer, yeah. So you guys see any problems with this? You like this? How are we feeling?
I just want to be a new race every single raid. Let's do it.
You can do it now. Yeah, yeah.
That's right. For the low price.
Surprise them each time.
No, this is great for me because I want to be orc in BWD, and then I want to be troll in Bastion of Twilight. So I mean, this is perfect.
Easy.
Uh,
Yeah.
no, I mean, I feel like the cooldown is something that may I understand why they have it to begin with, but it doesn't really make sense in the version we're playing right now to have a cooldown. You're not going to be server transferring for realm first and degenerate behavior like that. So um, I think it's fine. It's probably more revenue for them, and it's not something that is negatively impacting the community. I think
Mhm.
maybe it'll have some implications with like bots and stuff like that. Maybe I don't know, but yeah, I don't have
Yeah.
any huge comments on it. Really.
Yeah, I wonder how often like bots would utilize that. Like on a dead server, presumably you could get, farm a lot of mats easier and then you just
Mm.
transfer over to like Fairlina or whatever, dump everything. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know how cost effective it is for them. Like the cooldown probably doesn't matter at all. I assume most bots would get banned quick enough, hopefully. But
That's what I'm thinking as well. Yeah.
hopefully. All right. So we'll just talk a little bit more Cata stuff just to wrap this up. We already kind of talked about Blood DK versus other tanks, but
Mhm.
any Blood DK like optimizations you want to talk about, Riani? Anything you've been looking at lately? For me, like haste is something I've been playing around with a lot
Mm.
lately. It
Yeah.
feels like maybe like 7.5-second rune regen might be a good thing to aim for. That gets you like 5 GCDs every rune cycle. That
Mm.
becomes like, Death Strike, Heart Strike, 2 rune strikes, plus potentially another Death Strike if you get good rolls, or you roll one plus a blood tap, or maybe you need to reapply Outbreak there, whatever. Anything you're playing around with right now as far as optimizations?
I'm personally doing a lot of simming. Even though the sims are definitely not perfect, they still give a pretty good indication about what route to go down. But I am looking to prioritize mastery and haste. Well, I guess mastery hits, expertise, haste, and then whatever comes after that doesn't really make a big difference. I am at the stage right now where I'm kind of just trying to figure out the optimal balance in my build between self-healing, tankiness, and damage. And I'm finding the more damage I try to incorporate, the less issue I have with survivability as well. So it's it's hard finding a good points to go to there. But yeah, I think a lot of people, especially DKs in this expansion, where there's a new rotation and a new way to play the game, shouldn't necessarily worry too much about optimizing your gear for how perfect play should look, but really just figuring out how to optimize your rotation, and then you can start looking at like, okay, how do I start like shifting my focus away from survivability to more output and stuff like that. I see a lot of bloody case playing suboptimally, and yeah, I think your rotation video was great. Have you found any type of alterations to your rotation from when you made your video, or still keeping pretty similar?
For me, yeah, I honestly I'm doing the exact same thing. The
Mm.
one thing I'm somewhat playing around with is like throwing Outbreak as I'm running in instead of like waiting, like getting into melee,
Mm.
waiting to get hit, get the Vengeance up, then popping the Dancing Rune Weapon, then throwing Outbreak. I'm not sure. That's something I'm still looking at right now, is like whether or not getting that up a little bit quicker might be more worthwhile than just waiting to do it with higher AP and like getting the half damage disease from the rune weapon too.
Yeah.
I think it's probably still optimal to like get the vengeance before you're throwing outbreak, unless um getting the outbreak sooner is like really valuable
Mm-hmm.
for some reason, for like reducing damage. But yeah, honestly, just I'm doing the exact same thing. Is just I always keep at least one set of runes on cooldown at a time. And as I've been like getting more haste, I've found like a lot of the times I'm GCD capped, because like
Mm.
I'm like I'm getting a lot more runic power from swinging more often. My rune regen speed is quicker, so just it's been flowing really nicely. I'm on two of my blood DKs. I think I'm around like 7.6 rune regen, and I'm trying to get to about 7.5 for that like 5 GCDs per rune cycle I mentioned earlier. And already it's feeling like really awesome. Just like I almost always have a button to press at all times, it seems like. Um,
Mm.
and as I get a little bit more haste, I might drop Crimson Scourge. It is really nice for like trash and stuff, but I'm finding a lot of times like I can't even use like the GCD to like throw
Yeah.
the proc out there. So that is one thing I'm like kind of looking at now. But yeah, as far as like talents, are there any talents you found like you maybe think are a little more valuable now that you didn't before?
Um, I think my blood DK guide really well outlines my thoughts I have on the talents currently.
Okay.
The only thing that I would maybe, yeah, as we get more haste, put less emphasis on Crimson Scourge, because Crimson Scourge is a fantastic talent if you have spare globals, like that
Hmm.
extra runic power generation and getting a little bit of extra damage, from Blood Boil is compared to nothing is definitely a good thing. But if you don't have the global suppress it, it's absolutely wasted talent points, and then you have much better options for damage output to pick up. Like we still have both the butchery and blood cake blade available to us, and then depending on if you play with the Abomination's Might or not.
What kind of
Um,
damage increase? I assume you've like been simming like butchery. What kind of?
mm,
That's not one I've really spent time like looking at too much. What
mm.
kind of like damage increase are you seeing from butchery?
It's pretty similar to Blood Cake Blade in its value offensively, but then of course you could argue that you have some defensive values from Butchery as well because you get the increased runic power regeneration. So
Hmm.
more runic empowerments and whatnot, more death strikes.
One thing with Blood Cake Blade too that I don't see a lot of people mention is like it does proc some things. So like Rune of the Fallen Crusader, Blood Cake Blade will proc. So
Mm,
that is a little bit more healing you can potentially get.
mm,
Higher uptime on the buff, which also on top of being, damage is also like around 2%, I think, parry while it's up.
mm,
Um, so there is that like small defensive gain from Blood Cake Blade that I don't really see mentioned a whole lot, but
mm.
just kind of something to be aware of. But um, yeah, in general, are you like taking A bomb's might? This is always like kind of a debate is like like when the buff is not needed, when you're only taking it for I believe it's been like a little bit since I watched your video on this. I
Mm.
think you were saying like you're not really a huge fan of it. A bomb's might when the buff isn't needed.
Yeah, so if you don't need it, then don't take it. But that being said, I generally have it because yeah, you know, um, it's if someone dies and gets rest, at least you have that aura instead of having to rebuff with might.
Hmm.
If you're doing heroic dungeon content, it feels bad joining a group where DK doesn't have
Yeah,
it. um,
yeah.
if now that I'm starting to actually push for some higher damage numbers, I should probably go ahead and drop it, and maybe I'll do that after this podcast. um, but yeah, it's not a great offensive talent if you already have the buff brought by someone else.
Yeah.
Get more
That
value from Bug Egg Blade in that case.
Yeah, that's what I was saying too. Like lower single target DPS on A-Bomb's Might versus Blood Cake Blade.
Yep.
But obviously a little bit more AoE damage because strength affects everything. But I mean that's really like what Halfus and Trash and
Yeah,
it
nothing you get
is a
value
lot
from
more
really.
limited for sure.
And half is the main majority of your damage is on the boss anyway, so it's single targets.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
true with the damage amp for sure.
yeah. I was so sad that I lost out on I had a rank 1 on Halfus, but uh, someone snagged it
Yeah,
right
but it's
before it
by the time I
locked
logged
in.
in, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is the worst. Like, yeah, I've been there so many times before. Like, you get excited, you're like, "Ooh, I got the rank one." It just has to survive the night, and then
Yeah.
somebody slips in there. And for me, a few times it was like bugged logs or like spoofed logs. So like,
Mm,
uh, one of the ones I lost 100 on was it was a heroic Mimiron or hard mode Mimiron,
mm,
where the person who beat me, their top damage source was the Vindication debuff. being done to Naxxramas trash. Like
Hmm.
just the most bugged, like ridiculous log you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And yeah, since it's a snapshot though, like of that point in time, like once you lose that 100, you lose that 100. Even if the log that beat you was fake, spoofed, you know, bugged, whatever, that parse is gone. So yeah, it's always
Bummer.
pretty heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking enough when you lose that 100 by lock in, but it's even more heartbreaking when it's like a bugged log that, like, you know, is just fake, and like you just lose the 100 to nothing.
Yeah.
I actually just
is
wait
what it is.
around until I see you get 100, and then I spoof my log to ensure that you don't get yours locked in.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
log
Okay.
sniper.
Yeah,
They're plants. They're
that
industry
explains a lot.
plants.
Okay. Yeah. That makes me feel a lot better because I don't have any hundreds on the bloody K yet. I had a few on the prop
Mm.
eye back in Wrath, but haven't
Yeah.
quite gotten there on the damage for the bloody K. But it makes me
It's getting
feel a
pricey.
lot better that it's not because of my misplays. It's because of Hando sabotaging me.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's getting a little pricey, so you may get your hundreds after all, but
I mean, it's
Someday.
it's obviously quite a misplay from you to become friends with him in the first place. But you know, that's
Exactly. Yeah. The man, misplays never end. They extend outside of the game too.
I'll see myself out.
obviously.
Um.
Also, another thing
Yeah.
when we're talking about bloody case, little public service announcement for any DKs out there. I think Stone Skin Gargoyle weapon, Sean, is complete bait. Like,
100% agree.
yes, do not run Stone Skin Gargoyle.
Yeah, I ran it our very first raid, like for race day, and even then I think it was a mistake to do it.
Yeah.
Because like Fallen Crusader, like the healing and parry you get from it, like offsets like what Stone Skin Gargoyle brings to the table in the first place, and then you just get a ton of free damage from Fallen Crusader anyway.
So much, like
Yeah,
1k DPS. You know, it's like,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I was on the fence like you know, like a month ago. I was like on the fence. I was like, do I do the Stone Skin? Do I do the Fallen Crusader? I ultimately did Stone Skin. At this point, I believe that was a misplay. I've never run Stone Skin Gargoyle since then. Always Rune of the Fallen Crusader.
Yeah, I did on our first clear as well. It's was definitely the right thing to do.
Yeah. Also, you mentioned before that you've seen a lot of DKs like playing suboptimally. Is there any like big like thing that like number one thing you're seeing that like people are doing wrong?
I think blood tap usage or rune tap. No, blood tap. The death rune reset for the blood rune.
But yeah.
Yes,
I
blood
always
tap.
get confused on them too.
That's one I see people either they macro it into their heart strike ability.
What?
It's because one of the guides out there tells you to do that.
Really?
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's one thing that's suboptimal, but it's better than not using it at all. So if the alternative is not using it,
Wait.
then sure, go ahead and macro it into your heart strike
Okay.
ability. I think the argument that they were making is that's the way to get the most optimal uptime while on it, while still making sure that your blood rune goes on cooldown before you heart strike or before you blood tap. But obviously don't use it that way. It's an excellent tool to use when you have one death rune in order to insta proc your death strike. I think a lot of people are using heart strikes with their death runes as well by not properly tracking the runes. find a way to be able to track your runes and manage those properly. Be more liberal with your cooldown usage. God, I can't tell you how many logs I've looked at that has one vamp blood usage in the in the 5-minute span. Like
Yeah.
just throw that off cooldown pretty much. You're not gonna need it for any big hitting abilities. Just ease the incoming damage by throwing it up like pretty much off cooldown, unless there's no damage being done at that time. Dancing rune weapon, man, that's a off cooldown type of thing. Just that's don't save that for defensive purposes. That's a really strong offensive tool, and try to get some good macros going with that to incorporate either trinket or your sign up springs, yeah, I think those are some of the big things. But of course, you can get more micro with it as well.
There's some people I don't see using Army of the Dead like as an actual defensive cooldown too, and that is definitely huge.
I don't think you should necessarily use it as a defensive,
Yeah.
personally.
Okay.
I think it's stronger than people think as an offensive ability on pull, but also the runic power regeneration is pretty strong on
Oh,
pull.
that's true. Yeah.
And allows you to get to your dancing rune weapon quicker, and then you also have runes to offload during the dancing rune weapon window that you can offload before popping empowered rune weapon as well.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Army of the Dead, like it was a much more appealing cooldown in Wrath, like as a defensive, because you had way more dodge and parry. So the actual damage reduction on it was much higher. Right now, for most DKs, it's going to be 20 to 25%, somewhere in there, instead of like 40 to 50% in Wrath. And also the runes you're spending to cast it, it's a full death strike.
Yeah, for
which in Wrath, that death strike was way less valuable. It was 10% heal. Now we have the entire blood shield component to it. It hits way harder. It's Army is just quite a bit less appealing as a defensive, and then you throw in like the fact that like right on pull, it's going to give you like that 30 runic power. So then all you have to do is like Death Strike, like Horn of Winter, Death Strike, Heart Strike, and you're good to go. You have your dancing rune weapon, runic power, ready to go. As soon as you hit that vengeance cap, you can just throw it and get that CD rolling.
Also, one little thing as well, a little amendment that I want to do to my my rotation portion in the guide is that I say, Army of the Dead with 8 seconds left, and then right before pull, Horn of Winter. But you don't really need to do it right before pull. You can do it literally after you Army of the Dead, because the effect is going to be, the outcome is going to be the same. So if you don't want to be too worried about doing your pot and your Horn of Winter right before pull, then just do a Horn of Winter like right after your Army of the Dead as well, because the outcome is going to be the same.
Yep, absolutely. Definitely recommend that. Just as soon as the army finishes, cast that. Then you're not, thinking about pressing lots of different things like right on the pull. Just press the horn. Be ready to use your pot, because like that 10 runic power, like your runic power is still ticking either way, ticking down from the Army of the Dead cast, like pre-pull. Like just throw the horn. Yeah, exactly.
And when we're talking about potion, we're talking about Golem Blood Potion.
Golem
right?
Blood, yep.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, for like people who are really struggling on like prog for some stuff, like Halfis, for example, like you could do an earthen pot. to get through that early part. I know, like, there are some raids out there where people are having some issues. They feel like that initial Halfist damage might be a little rough, but in general, like for the majority of people, definitely it's pretty much golden blood on everything. It's it's a good potion.
Would you
The,
say
the,
that's even like more of a bait as well, like the stone skin gargoyle? Because don't you get an extra 10% off that potion because of Fallen Crusader? So it's like what, an extra
15%, yeah.
120, 15%. There you go. So it's like a
Yeah.
huge bonus for the strength, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're getting hundreds more off that.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be like during your, big dancing rune weapon that has everything attached to it as well. That like initial
Right.
one. So yeah, it's definitely a very high value potion use there.
Yeah, I mean, Blood DKs have a proper opener with maybe some decent luck on the Death Strike crits. You're gonna be having a 40k DPS opener, 45k sometimes, and it would be very dumb to not utilize that incredibly big damage window and not use a strength potion with it, because it's not like you're struggling with survivability in the beginning of the fight. And yes, the one fight I could say that if you are really struggling with Halfas, sure, that fight you can pre-pot with armor, but there's no other fight in the game that requires a pre-pot with armor.
Yeah. There's just some groups out there. I've seen some stuff, stuff you wouldn't believe, but
Nightmare inducing.
yeah.
It was on the bingo card.
on the Cata bingo card. Yeah.
One of the changes they made with Army of the Dead was Death Pact can be used on those minions, right? Like, it's not just your raise dead.
Oh,
Is
could
that
it
something
not
that you guys
before?
ever do? Yeah, it was literally just your ghoul before, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't play Wrath DK enough. I guess I didn't even know that. I mean, occasionally, yeah. That's like if you have the minion out, yeah. Sometimes, like, I feel like for me, it's a lot more common in like a solo, because
Yeah.
when you're using Army of the Dead, typically it is just gonna be on the pull, like we've been talking about, and by the time they're gone, like in that window, Army of the Dead's up, you probably don't need to use Death Pact, but maybe you do. Yeah, you could.
Maybe for those PvPers out there that didn't know, there you go.
I gotta
Little
say that
RPG.
I'm think I've sacrificed my pet maybe 2 times this tier.
Oh, really?
I mean,
Okay.
I've probably done it a little bit more during progression, but
Yeah.
I feel like I've never really been in a position where it's been required, and there have been occasional where I've, like, oh shit type of situations, but the ghoul does allow damage, and
It does do
I'm a
good
sucker
damn,
for
yeah.
it, especially if you pop it during your your opener window. Snapshot it with heroism and stuff like that, then it's definitely going to be doing a good portion of damage. It's definitely a global that's worth pressing. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a good thing to bring up too. What timing do you like on like casting the ghoul? You're not doing a pre-pull, you're waiting.
I'm waiting.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing. It's gonna depend a little bit about runic empowerment procs, but my opener is generally Army of the Dead. Well, 1 minute before the fight, Blood Shield, then Army of the Dead, Strength Potion, or Horn of Winter, Strength Potion, Death Strike, Heart Strike, Heart Strike. Yes. Dancing Rune Weapon, Outbreak, Heart Strike. No, Death Strike, Heart Strike, Runic Empower, or the Empower Rune Weapon. Offload it all into, and then I don't think you're going to be able to get a rune strike in there because you want to be over 80 runic power. So I think that's the time where I usually use my ghoul. It's outside of the strength potion window, I think, and also outside of the trinkets window. But you still get all of the active buffs and the heroism and whatnot by doing it.
Okay.
Then.
So after the whole dancing rune weapon burst is where you're looking at it? Okay.
Yeah, not during dancing rune weapon. I think that would be a bad use of a global.
Yeah, definitely not during. The only question I had was like if it was before or after, basically. But yeah, it sounds like after.
I know. I like during or after.
After. Yeah. Okay. All right.
What about you? What do you do?
Yeah, so right now I've been I've been doing basically the army into horn into pot, then taunt boss for fixate as you're running in. Open with like DS, HS, that gets me to 60, but then the bosses like got me to vengeance cap. Then I'm throwing like dancing rune weapon into outbreak. Then it's DS,
Just one second.
Yeah.
I want to ask it while I have it on my mind here.
Mhm.
What time do you Army of the Dead in order to have 60 runic power after one death strike and one heart strike?
It's like 8 seconds. So
Yeah. So I find the timing being really tight if I want to get that timing to where I only need one heart strike.
Because so at 8 seconds, like 7 to 8, I guess. Like right in there. Press it, that gives you 30 runic power. You do the horn after. That's 40, but you're decaying in runic power now. So by the time like the pull actually happens, you're at like 33, 32, something like that. And then DS gives you 20 more, HS gives you 10 more. That gets you to 60 plus, and then you can throw the immediate rune weapon there. But the timing's always been pretty comfortable for me on that, because correct me if I'm wrong, but you lose one runic power a second, and if you're doing it at 8 seconds, you can only lose 8 by the time the pull happens, so you'll have like 32 at least.
Yeah, I think it decays while you're casting as well. But I think I just need to army a little bit later because I find myself having to heart strike twice to get that runic empowerment or the dancing rune weapon going.
Okay.
I'll pay attention to that next raid.
Yeah, it's definitely doable. It's something I like consistently do. Just we just want to get that rune weapon rolling ASAP and get that 60 runic power as quick as you can.
Yeah.
Anything else, like any maybe like glyphs or anything that you think people are sleeping on or not using enough?
I feel like the prime glyphs are kind of just insta lock. Like I don't really swap to Death and Decay for any fight.
Yeah, I was gonna say that might actually be worth mentioning because I get this question so often. I think there's some guides out there that recommend you always have D&D on. So I basically always have Rune Strike on. It's pretty rare. Like if I'm doing tons of heroics, or even if I'm just doing some heroics, but I think to switch it, yeah, sure, I'll throw on D&D probably. But outside of that though, like for rating, like it's set and forget Rune Strike. Like I can't remember the last time I've had D&D on for a raid. Probably never.
Yeah, no. And another glyph that I think that I have it as a pretty decent, might as well put on glyph in my guide, but I think that people should not be running after now, having done a few resets in the raid, is the dancing rune weapon glyph. I think I think people should take that off if they're currently running it, because like obviously you're not going to be struggling with threat. But what you are going to be struggling with is if you're not running with another Blood DK in your group and you're not currently actively tanking the target. If you're if you're popping dancing rune weapon while they're tanking, then you're insta ripping threat, especially with the glyph. So take that off. It's not a good glyph, and I'm so sorry that I recommended it in my guide.
Yeah, that exactly what you said. That is the biggest problem I've seen with it. Like occasionally there might be some stuff it's useful for, like Halfist, if you're like tanking the ads on that fight. As a Halfist main tank, I had to completely just take it off because I was just ripping threat off all the ad tanks and taking everything myself. So if you are like an ad tank on Halfist, then that's the one time I do find it like somewhat valuable, because like if you have really high level like mages, for example, they may actually do enough threat that it could be relevant for you to use it, but very limited use for sure, I would say, on that. And more often than not, it does just cause problems. Like any kind of tank swap fight, you press dancing rune weapon, the other tank has zero chance. Honestly, even without the glyph, like they're probably gonna have some problems anyway. But if you have that glyph on, 100% you're ripping threat off them. No chance that they can
I've had
hold that.
to, even without it, I've had to ask for salvations several times.
I should ask for that sometimes, honestly. I don't think I've gotten to salve all of Cata yet, but I should be probably asking for that.
Yeah.
Weird day when the tanks are getting it, right?
Yeah.
Well, not prop paladins, I suppose.
Fester got, we were always calling for it. Yeah, that was the one time. Like when you have like the 9 stacks and you like switch off on Fester, and the fresh tank comes in with they have 0 stacks of the damage buff. Even like taking Wretch's Fury off, like I don't know. I was running into threat issues a lot there, so I would always just call for the salve.
Okay. Yeah, I never really found any issues while either swapping into Blood Presence or turning off Righteous Fury. But maybe I'm just not as big of a pumper.
I had some decent ones on Fester, but also like I mean, it really depends on who the other tank is too. Like they might not exactly be doing optimal threat, so if you're really pumping and the other tank isn't doing what they should be, then it's definitely a recipe for pulling threat.
Yeah, that's true.
How do you feel about like the rune tap glyph? Like that's kind of my go-to, just like if I don't need anything else, like I just kind of throw that on just for free group healing.
Yeah, I think it's fine. It's a good alternative to have there. The only one that I would say is like mandatory is the AMS glyph. Like always run that.
Oh, always, you think? Okay.
I think always, yeah.
Even if so, like Conclave's the main one I run it for, like to increase the immune window for like toxic spores. But you're thinking for like everything, run it?
I think always. I haven't seen a single time this tier where my AMS faded early from the damage incoming, and so just having that 2-second extra window, I think is the best use you can get from any prime glyph, in my opinion. Cho'Gall tanking, it doesn't really have any effect on like Nefarian maybe, but it gives you some breathing room. For example, you could have the possibility of soaking both a breath and a crackle if the timing are like misaligned. And yeah, I think that's an insta lock. for pretty much every fight.
Okay. Yeah, I think I might have
And
been sleeping on that because I felt like in general like it should be fully consumed in the 5 seconds, but maybe not.
no,
Yeah.
really, I feel like it's so rare to have that
Okay.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll add that in. That'll be my new thing. So I normally have like pestilence glyph on, just like for trash and just things like Valiona and Thuralion. I don't know if it's actually needed to like easily spread diseases to the like flying dragon. Have you played around with like not using it there? Can you spread your
Um,
diseases pretty easily still?
I haven't really tried, and don't. I haven't pressed the pestilence on that fight.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I maybe should. I have to look into how the global is best spent. If it's better to heart strike, or to spread the dots to the second Drake. I don't know. Maybe how much value do you get from spreading your dots there in one rotation?
Honestly, I've just kind of been doing it. Just assuming it's worthwhile, but maybe it's not. I should probably take a look at it. But
Because Valiona is one of those bosses where I don't have it on 99, so maybe I need to do something to.
I don't think I'm ever gonna have a 99 there. They have me now like not tanking first and
Mm,
staying in Twilight Realm like for 2 minutes at the end of the fight. So yeah, it's that one's over for me.
Taking
oof,
one for the team.
oof.
Taking it for the team, yeah. Relegated
Yeah,
to the Shadow Realm.
hate when that happens.
But yeah, honestly, like with the past, I feel like it's probably pretty pretty similar. Like it probably isn't even worth pressing, honestly. Now that I think about it more, like I the half disease damage, like it probably averages out to being almost the exact same thing. So like, why even think about it?
Yeah, yeah. But honestly, I haven't really used pestilence a lot. Like the glyph. So I don't think there are a lot of fights where I would get a lot of value from it. Um, I generally run with the bone shield glyph as
Yeah,
well.
I love the Bone Shield
Um,
one.
oh, it's nice. Um, but yeah, I think I think you've been sleeping on AMS. Uh,
I might throw that in. I kind of like that. But
that's how you get the rank 1 healing parse. So I'm gonna have to look out on
true.
Nefarian
Yeah,
for next
true,
week.
true. Yeah. A lot of people might not know, but the AMS absorb counts as like healing because it's an absorb. So
Yeah.
increase your healing bars with AMS glyph.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else you wanted to throw out there for Bloody Case before we go?
I'm sure there is a ton of things to talk about on the Blood Death Night. Uh, maybe I'll have to come on stream one of these days, and we could just talk Blood DKs for hours.
Yeah,
And
dude. Yes, let's do it. Yeah.
but for now, I think I don't want to be that guy to Hando. We got to include him as well. So we'll cut it
Fair
short
enough.
there.
Fair enough.
Oh, hey, the DK's coming up eventually.
Nando's gonna get there.
Next
I
time
just
will
don't want to.
be
I don't want to be
Pot
spoiled right
Warrior.
away. You know what I mean? I want to leave a little something on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, anytime you're just like, around and, you hop in my Twitch chat or anything, just let me know. We can talk some Blood DK, and I mean,
Yeah.
I know the viewers would love that. Like I mean, you're the name that gets brought up the most for sure when people are
Oh, yeah?
talking Blood DK in my chat. So
Yeah, that's good to hear.
I mean people love the crossover episode. I know.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Me too. Me too.
it's
So
awesome, dude.
here's what you guys should do. It's a race from 55 to 85 while discussing blood DKs. Just you each level one while you're
Whoa.
discussing and see what ends first, the discussion or the leveling process.
I like it. I like it.
Oh man, I need to get a little vacation going for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no kidding.
100%.
Give my wife meal prep for my wife and
Tea and crumpets, of course, right?
Oh man, and how could you do him like that?
Gotta do them.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll wrap it up there then. Rihanna, where can they find you on YouTube? Do you stream at all? I'm not actually sure.
I
Any
don't
Twitch?
stream right now.
Okay.
It is the plan to get into it, at least dip my feet into the little streaming waters. But I have to like set up a little studio for that and stuff like that, because right now I'm just here at home, and the wife is on sick leave, and the dog and all of that. So I'm just taking a little taking chill on that one for a while and focusing on the YouTube stuff. But yeah, YouTube at Riani. I just released my worst performing video of all time, which is a Prot Warrior guide. So, if you are like to inflict, pain on yourself, and play the warrior, then you know how to do it right by coming over to my channel and checking that out. And no, see Potter, chatter here. I am from Sweden. So I'm about to celebrate midsummer soon, dancing around the pole and jumping like a frog. That's the thing that we do during midsummer. So that'll be great. That'll be great.
Awesome. And Hando, anything you want to plug?
No plugs for me. Just hanging out with the
No
boys.
plugs. Just
Hell yeah.
hanging out.
I do want to say thank you to Riani though, because I think our female viewership, because he's so handsome, goes up at least double. So instead of
Absolutely.
two or three, we've got 4 to 6.
Yeah, I have this. I have this.
That's more than I have on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, normally it's like 1%. So I think we might hit 2% here.
That's right. That's
for
right.
sure.
Shout out.
And then me, as always, you can find me on Twitch or YouTube, SubtleFW on either of those. Lots of tank content, and hopefully on there you'll see, Riani coming on. Me and him just chatting blood DKs. I know that's what you guys love, and honestly, that's what I love. There's nothing better than, top thing is just playing a blood DK, but when you can also talk to somebody else who's super knowledgeable, super passionate about blood DKs, it's the best. It's the best.
Indeed.
But
Let's make it happen.
yeah, let's do it. Thanks so much though for coming back. Amazing guest, as always. And
our best one for sure.
Our best guest ever. Better.
Personally, I think it's the worst, but
I would say you're better than the last guest we had too.
Yeah, you're better than our last guest too. Riani post Cata, a whole new Riani, even better than the old Riani.
That's right.
Holy.
Just always getting better. But yeah, we'll hopefully have you on again another time too. Let's make it a triple.
Yeah, we'll call you in about 9 episodes.
Triple threat.
Yeah, 9.
We'll call you in about 9
right.
episodes.
Yeah,
I think that's the threshold now.
Every 9.
I'm clearing my calendar.
All right, yeah. Every 9 episodes, we got it, Riani locked in. All right. Yeah, thanks so much for watching, everybody. We will be back again next week. Maybe we'll have our first non-Riani guest on. You never know. Tune in and find out.
Blasphemy.
It could happen. It could happen. I'm just saying.
We may even have a surprise guest that's Riani again. Who knows?
This is Riani
every night.
with sunglasses and like a mustache on. Yeah,
Disguised toast.
yeah. We could get away with it. I know we could.
Yeah, that's for
All
sure.
right, guys. Thanks again to Riani, and we will see you all next week. Thanks for
Take
watching
care.
and listening. See you later.